Oh, here we go. It's the week of the Alaboom, and isn't this awesome? I have Barry all to myself this evening. Keith's daughter is having her birthday party. Anthony is too cool for school. But Barry, you're back. You're here. You're alive. You're functioning.
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah. So how's everything? Everything going?
Good for the most part. Yeah, it's getting used to being left-handed, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So did you get your hand surgery done yet, or?
Yeah, did yesterday.
And how'd that go? What? Explain to me exactly what you had done. I know you said you had carpal tunnel, but what exactly did they do?
All right, so I have there's two nerves in your hand. You got the carpal tunnel nerve that does these the two fingers in your thumb, and there's another nerve that goes through the elbow called the ancillary nerve, something like that, that controls the bottom two fingers. In both hands, both nerves are shot from years of swinging a hammer and a wrench and all that. So
Yeah,
they
and
cut
pulling your
the
and pulling your crank.
yeah,
Let's be honest.
so they cut the wrist to relieve the pressure on the nerve for the carpal tunnel, and then they cut the elbow. The same thing. They cut tendons away from the nerve to relieve the pressure. So they did the right hand yesterday, and probably like 3 weeks or so to do the other hand. Um, yeah, and then the nerves will restore gradually, and I'll get feeling back in my fingers and all that.
Hmm. So it just is it. I mean, how long does it take it to come back to working or whatever?
It depends on the damage done to the nerves. It could be a couple months, could be 6 months, a year. It depends on the damage done to the nerves.
So I mean, that's just from working construction all those years and everything like that.
Yeah, and what happened is like I felt the right hand going, so I stopped using that as much and started using the left hand, and then that one started to go. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's just people use keyboards or wrenches and stuff like that. They tend to get it, just repetitive motion in the hand.
Very cool. Hey, did you tweet out the link or whatever?
Yeah, we did it.
Attaboy. So other than that, man, so you just been taking it easy. So I mean, you're getting healthy. You're getting all your facilities back in order, correct?
Somewhat, yeah.
All right, cool. And then um, what are you so what's next for you then? Another 27 surgeries? Or are you gonna figure out what you're gonna do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, there's that. The back's still an issue, and that may never be fixed. The back's really bad. It's worse than I really let on.
Yeah.
Um, I'll have issues with that the rest of my life. I already know that. Yeah, and then just figuring out what I want to do with my life.
Is it drink as much as possible and be, be play Java at conventions?
Yes,
That's
I need
awesome.
I need sponsors.
uh, just this. So, other than that, man, you've been I mean, I'm sorry. Once again, I apologize for the tragedy, man. That sucks. But uh, other than that, man, I mean, what's new? We haven't
Uh,
talked for like 2.5, 3 weeks. What's new? What's going
yeah,
on? Fill me in on Barry Reynolds' life over the last 21 days.
there's just the back issues. I was going to pick up a fork. I sneezed at the same time. I slipped a disc. That was bad. Yeah, I know. It gets better though.
You went to pick up a fork and you sneezed at the same time. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. That sounds horrible, and I'm sorry that you're in pain, and that sucks. But
Yeah, it is humorous. And then that was starting to feel good, and then I got done wiring the one wall of my shop in the garage, and
so you're still moving around. You're still like getting stuff done, right?
yeah, a little, just not like I was. But I have a CNC machine that I wanted to plug in and try. So I had my friend help me rock. He actually did all the sheetrock. But I
I'm sorry. What was a CNC machine? What is that?
It is. It's a computerized router, so it'll carve, shapes or designs in wood or metal, and it's all run by a computer.
All right.
And,
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I got this thing. I built it, put it together. I hooked it up to my old laptop, and then I was playing around with it. The laptop, I kind of like soft wiped it. I just uninstalled all the programs and shit I don't use, but I left some stuff on there. And so I like to listen to music while I'm doing things. So I ran a playlist of everything on the computer musically. Yeah. And then I hear my mother's voice over the computer, and it freaked the fuck out of me.
Was it a ghost, or what are you talking about?
What happened is I backed up my sister's iPhone and put it on this computer, and she had a compilation of voicemails my mother left on her phone on that backup. And like I said, I didn't look at the playlist. I just, hit music files. So when I was doing this, I was sitting at a bench on a stool, and like I said, it freaked me out. And I kind of stood and got the bench twisted in between my legs, and I fell into the corner of my 300-pound steel table saw. So that's the night I went into the ER.
Oh,
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
Yeah. Welcome to my life. So that was just a cracked vertebrae. It's no big deal. And
no
then,
big deal. It sounds awful.
I've had compression fractures. You get used to it. There are annoyance after a while.
Used to it?
Yeah, you get used to pain. You build up tolerances. Like I said, this back's been messed up for 7 years and re-injured. Yeah.
That's crazy, brother.
And last week, my brother's father died, and we got all that shit squared away. And then here we are.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Well,
I did get Mythos Tales in. I'm excited
what
about
now?
that. I did get Mythos Tales in. Didn't play it yet, though.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my copy.
Just came in yesterday.
Well, mine didn't. So thanks for bragging.
No problem.
However, I did get a bunch of. I did get my stuff from. I got my advanced copy, which I shouldn't brag too much, but I got my advanced copy of the Vinos Deluxe or whatever. So I'm excited to crack that open and take a look. Other than that, yeah. You play anything? I suppose you haven't really been playing any games or anything lately.
The last thing I played was The Others. I'm sorry, The Seven Sins. Yeah, The Others, The Seven Sins. Oh no, I'm sorry. I played Rick and Morty's Total Recall. That was the last thing I played. But other than that, no, not much.
And not much, just because. What did you think of The Others? Give me your 5-minute Barry review.
I liked it. The other player, whatever they call the gamekeeper, whatever it is in the game, that kind of disjointed it for me a little bit. Like at the beginning of your turn, you could do an action, and then he can stop, interject one of his actions in it. And then if you interact with certain tokens and different effects, he can also interact with that. And then he has an interaction at the end of the round that he can throw in when he wants to. And that felt a little disjointed to me. But could be I'm not used to games like that. I don't know. Now, the guy I played with, Don, it was his copy. He had all the Kickstarter exclusives and all that. But from what I saw, the characters weren't really that interesting. It was like one sentence that defined what they were. You know, the stat was a little different here or there, but I don't know. I think they just wanted to make this game to print minis.
What, the others?
Yeah, I don't know. It was only your first play. We'll see.
All right. Well, I mean, that's kind of negative. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, did you play Blood Rage?
Yeah, and I enjoyed both of them. It's just this one, like I said, just felt a little disjointed to me.
But so this one is good, as good, equal, worse.
I don't think it's as good as Blood Rage, but it is good. You know, I think it's a step below Blood Rage, but you know, I did enjoy it.
I got into a mild argument with somebody about whether or not Blood Rage was a Euro, which it most certainly is. But
yeah,
it has. I mean, it has some Ameritrash stuff going on as far as thematic stuff and you know, player elimination. You know, not true player elimination, but you get to destroy people and what have you. So yeah,
I put it on the hybrid category. Yeah,
it's more Euro than anything. I mean, you could play that with cubes, and you know, so it's, you know, I don't know. It's good, I think. You know, I mean, well, obviously, Blood Rage was my favorite game last year. So, though strangely, after I'm guessing 40 plays and another like 10, 15 times teaching it and not playing it, I think I'm done with it. I mean, it'll be a game that I'll bring out again. I for a while there, I thought it would be evergreen. I thought I'd always want to play, but a few times now, when I've had the option to play, I was just like, you know what, I don't need to, you know, and I backed away. So
playing it that many times, have you found a lot of broken issues? You know.
No, I mean, because when you play that game that many times, I'm mostly playing it with the same people over and over again. So, you know, we recognize everybody's inclinations. I mean, you don't let somebody get all the Loki cards. It just doesn't happen, you know? So, it's definitely like it was one of those games where if I went to a convention or if I went to my local game store and like they wanted me to teach and they'd say, "Would you want to play?" I would always turn them down because I was like, because there's no way for me to like dumb down the way I play. And I would, you know, I mean, just because knowledge of the game, knowledge of the cards, knowledge of strategies, not that I'm like some amazing player, but repetition, eventually, you know, you just will win. You know, and that's with any game though. So it's not just Blood Rage.
Yeah, it's number one complaint I heard about Blood Rage, which I've played probably about 6 or 7 times now, but just not my own copy, was that it was, you know, so unbalanced. And I don't believe that. I just don't think players are checking each other player, you know?
Well, it's kind of like that old thing where you'd be playing Seven Wonders and somebody would just feed the guy next to him science card after science card. And you're just like, you want to reach over the table and strangle him. You know, you're just like, you know, and you're staring up at an insurmountable lead or whatever, and you just can't. You know, so I mean that's one of those things that kind of stinks. But what do you do? You know.
Yeah, but like I said, and then Rick and Morty Total Recall. We only played the co-op version of it. That's a nice, you know, fun little quick game filler. I played with my sister and her boyfriend. They'd never seen the show, and they enjoyed it. She's always a mess with IP games.
Fair enough. I think we have Mark Sirens on from Vile Genius Games, but he's not either on camera or not talking. So, you there, Mark? Yeah. Apparently not. He was trying to log in. I'm going to a convention that I don't know if he helps run it or what he does there in Treasure Coast ComicCon this weekend. I get to hang out with celebrities.
Ooh.
Yeah, like some lady who was on True Blood, and Counselor Deanna Troy will be there. I don't know. I mean, I'm not like going to be like, having beers with them or anything, theoretically, but yeah. But yeah, it's like, but no. Also, obviously, it's a convention or whatever.
Right.
So, going there, gonna show off Chimera Station live on Kickstarter right now. Might I add? If anybody's looking at backing a cool, awesome game. But other than that, I don't know. I haven't really. I mean, I've been playing lots of games. Most of them are like Kickstarter stuff. Nothing really new. Though I did play Potion Explosion again the other day. I really like that game. Have you played that yet?
No, not yet.
That's really good. You should play that. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Other than that, man. What's do you even care about the footballs?
Nah, the Eagles, they gave up on them years ago.
Yeah.
I don't.
Hey, you got Carson Wentz, baby. North Dakota.
Yeah, I don't.
NDSU, baby.
I worked the graveyard shift so long. I just really couldn't keep any shows or sports in the rotation.
Nice. I was going to ask you a question. I forgot what it was.
Well, before we get too deep in it, we kind of left last week. We were talking about the negativity of the hobby.
Yeah, we're going to get negative. Is that what you're saying?
Nah, it kind of. I don't think we should have left it just at the negative. So what's one of the positives about where the industry is at now?
Well, yeah, but we don't have like David Lowery on to like really. Oh, there's Mark. He put clothes on apparently.
I was messing with you.
All right. Let's ask Mark. Let's ask let's ask him about his negative first, and then we'll go through. So this is Mark. Mark Sirens.
Yes.
Sirens. Mark is the Grand High Poobah at Vile Genius Games. And last week we had a big long discussion about what each person thought was the biggest problem in the industry, like the biggest issue, the biggest negative aspect of the board game industry right now. And we touched on a lot of different topics that apparently rankled some people's fur. But what, in your opinion, is the single largest problem right now?
First thing, is my audio okay?
What?
Is my audio okay?
I'm sorry, what?
It's fine. Lance is an asshole.
I'll keep going if you want to keep going. I think the biggest problem is too many people on a particular forum that just straight go negative on stuff too fast. They don't give some games the benefit of the doubt, or if it's a game that they don't like a type of genre they don't like, if somebody doesn't like Take That, and they just go there and just trash it because it's a Take That game. I think there's too much of that goes on in there, where there's a great game that maybe it's not what you'd like to play, but you don't need to trash it because it's simply not your style.
That's pretty. That was a very common thread that we talked about last week. Was the overall negativity that people have about these things.
And what I like is there's some groups out there, like the board game group, that sort of fights against that in a sense, where they keep, if there's too much negative, they actually stop it on their Facebook page and they put an end to the discussion because they don't want that systemic nastiness to go around, because board games should be about fun and having fun, not, how dare you like that game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you as far as that goes too. I mean, it's it's a difficult thing that's going on right now. I mean, it's and like we had like Scott Alden was on last week, and like he even talked about how like the culture of Board Game Geek had turned kind of negative as well. It just kind of.
I don't like to name names, but I could see that. A lot of the positives have been the way that this community sort of builds around each other and they sort of help each other out. I mean, on my end, I have a lot of, at least in my area, people that come up and ask for advice on how they should do their games and all that, and how they should do their Kickstarters and what they should do. So, and it's like a free-flowing forum essentially of what's great, what's going on, and how do I build that up. And that's one thing I like about this industry is just the people in there are generally great people in the industry. Like Lance, you're awesome. Always like hanging out with you as much as possible. But there's some other great people that I met that I can't wait to see this weekend, like Patrick Sieber, Brian Fiore, Stephen Avery, Jeff Corbeau, Zeb, and all them. We're going to see all them this weekend. I love hanging out with those guys because they're just great people to hang out with. Stop yawning. That's contagious.
Yeah, I know. I got a pack still, so I can leave tomorrow to make it to your convention.
Yeah, I'm still packing too. I finally found my gunny bag, but I lost my copy of Thwarted. I don't know where it went. I just came back from the convention area. I had to drive an hour and 45 minutes to get up there to unload my stuff so I could pick people up tomorrow.
Well, fair enough. So what exactly is Treasure Coast Comic-Con? Why don't you tell the people a little bit about that? If you can just give us like the 2-minute rundown.
It's a con that's all about treasure. Treasure Coast Comic-Con is a convention that's in Port St. Lucie. It's a comic book convention, but they asked me to come in this year to try to build up their tabletop area. Last year was the first year of the show, and they had a huge response of the area wanting to pretty much, they wanted the con to bring more games. So I started reaching out to people to see who could attend at such short notice. But we actually have a pretty large room that we're going to be doing a bunch of different things. And I believe we have 12 panels set up between Saturday and Sunday. Double Envoy is going to be there Friday and Saturday doing 6 different games for the World Championship or the Florida State Championship of Board Games. And I can pull those up in a second. We have 133 games for the Play to Win area. We also have an Unpub event going on and some publisher designer speed dating. So if there's people that are in that area, Port St. Lucie, West Palm, Orlando area, they might want to go to this event because they're going to have a lot of us there to check it out. Lance has a couple of panels that he's going to be doing. So it's going to be.
I won't be available for any of those. Thank you.
Oh, want to bet? You weren't just brought here for your beard, buddy.
Aw.
But,
do you not want anybody else to be able to talk at these things, or what's the deal?
Yeah.
Oh,
kill
Keith,
some
don't you have a birthday party to be taken care of?
She went to sleep, so.
How
well,
old is she, Keith?
9. She's a little one, still, kind of.
My daughter just turned 9 as well, so well in July technically, but yeah.
we have a bunch of 9-year-olds here. Hey Barry, are you doing an impersonation of a steamboat there?
Yes.
But Treasure Coast is going to be a lot of fun. We have quite a few cool things set up. We're going to be doing the match game too, where we're going to give away a couple prizes to some people there. I know I have a few
prizes, 2 prizes. Ooh. Just kidding. Yeah, hell, man.
Oh, my eye itches right now.
What's so like the old game show match game?
Yeah, they're the guys at Mark Crew 42 are providing the music, but Brian or Patrick's going to be the one putting it on. So we're all going to be up there trying to answer the questions for the contestants, and if the contestants will get a prize for themselves, and then the loser get a consolation prize. I think consolation prize is Cards Against Humanity, because who really wants that, right?
Exactly.
No, we got quite a few prizes. If I was on this thing yesterday, I would look behind me. This entire area was stacked full of board games that were going to be given away at the Treasure Coast.
Good deal. No, I mean that's awesome. So I mean, I'm flying in with celebrities supposedly.
I don't know who you're riding with. I was just in John's office too. Hold on, I can pull it up. I think I figured it out.
Well, the only one I care about is if Billy West, because I want to make him talk in like the Fry voice to me.
I think he's coming in very early in the morning. So
lame.
You're hanging out with Noel. I cannot pronounce his last name. Noel. Guglielmi. He's the one that was in Training Day, Fast and Furious, Dark Knight Rises.
No idea.
What, you thought you were going to sit with an A-list actor?
What is Billy West an A-list actor? I don't know.
It depends on the fandom, really. Just like Deanna Troi is an awesome catch for any Star Trek-oriented people.
Yes. That isn't her name, by the way.
Deanna Troi?
That's the character she played. You're
Yeah,
not actually getting the character of Deanna Troi.
In my defense,
what's her name?
looking up that
What's her
dating
name? Without looking it up on your website that says Sept Meber. What in your
You know, I forgot to mention that to him again.
just the front page of Treasure Coast Comic-Con, Sept Meber 17th.
You know, I said there's. Uh-oh, I'm gonna have voice. Good. All right, I got it here. I think I got it. You mean Marina? Sure. Oh,
Sirtis. I believe it's
thank you.
Sirtis.
Yeah, because I would say the name totally wrong, and I don't know what rating this show is.
So what have you been up to there, Keith?
Not a lot. Playing my World of Warcraft crap. And not much else. Going to work, shooting some stuff. That covers it, I think.
Why are you playing World of Warcraft again? Just a time killer?
New expansion came out, and so experiencing the new content, checking it out. They did some really cool storytelling stuff this time around. And basically they've made it so every person seems to be like the best of their class per the story, if you will. So like you become the leader of the Paladins, you become the leader of the Death Knights, you become the leader of Watson, whatever class you happen to be playing at the time in the storyline. So you're like a big deal. Of course, everyone is a big deal, but you only see that you're a big deal when you play the story, which is kind of cool. Because now you've become kind of a character of lore like Varian Wren or Thrall, et cetera, and so forth at this point in your storyline. So it's actually something unique they've done for an MMO to make you feel like you matter versus just being 50,000 people running around. It's neat in the storytelling aspect, so I kind of like that. But I think they completely cocked up the trade skills this time. So, there's a trade-off.
Are you talking about the new WoW expansion?
Yeah, are you a big World of Warcraft guy there, Mark?
You know, I beta tested that game.
Like the early one?
Oh yeah, my online gaming guild's been around for 20 years. So when WoW came out, we all got ported over there and given a bunch of beta accounts. I played up until Wrath. When they took away like the PvP ranks, that's when I sort of stepped away from WoW a bit, because I was 1 week away from becoming the Grand Master, and they took it away, and I nerd raged.
That could do it if you were into that, for sure.
Oh yeah, I have the new thing. I have a buddy of mine that works for Blizzard, so I got hooked up with the code, and I went running around. And as soon as I logged in, my guildies were like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I really don't know."
Yeah, the other big thing they did was give everyone a legendary weapon that you can level up. It's got its own storyline, and it kind of levels up skill tree, and the legendary weapon kind of Diablo-y within it. So everybody's got one of these, legendary weapons from the lore and stuff that they're running around with that do stuff. Like my mage has a staff that talks to him randomly as he's walking around. You'll get these whispers. You get these whispers from your staff, and I had something weird happen a while ago, just right before I got in here. I was walking around. I just kind of stopped for a second to get ready to port my mage back to Dalaran. And all of a sudden I see like this beam of energy streaming from something. Well, my legendary weapon tapped into an arcane mana source nearby and was draining it. And when it finished its little drain action, I had 30-minute buff of increased arcane damage for the next 30 minutes. I'm like, well, that's cool. I didn't even know this was going to happen. It just kind of did that. So that's pretty neat too. And they've instanced like resource nodes so that you're not competing with other players to gather resources, but you still have to go out and gather resources yourself. So all your mining nodes are instanced, so you don't have to worry about bots swooping in and just auto farming everything, keeping you from getting it now. So lots of little things like that they've thrown in there. So it's still World of Warcraft, and it's super easy to play by yourself now, but it's cool. I have fun with it, and it's something to do because I haven't been able to get a gaming group together for 3 weeks now. I'm getting pissed off.
I know that feeling, but that's usually because I'm out of town.
Everybody's just been super busy with school starting back up and this, that, and the other. So we've just not been able to get anything going. So I have not played a board game in literally 3 weeks from today, since today.
Well, all right. So Barry wants us to be positive today. So we want, and Mark already touched on it, like what's good about the industry. And he said the feeling of unity and friendship. So that one's already taken. You can't use that one. Does anybody else have anything they want to say that's positive about the board game industry right now?
Yeah, it's producing a lot of good games right now. It is, they're still managed to be creative, even though, there's so many games coming out. There's still some really creative stuff showing up. Everything's not all the same. Yeah, there's some of that out there, but I really feel like we're coming out with some really good and really interesting mechanicisms and themes and implementation of things within those subsets. So I think that's been really cool. You get a game like Above and Below that comes out that's, it's got a little bit of that worker placement element, and it takes that nice storytelling element from Tales of the Arabian Nights, which was a mediocre game at best, and makes a really good game out of the two of them. And things like that. I'm not a Pandemic Legacy fan because I'm not a Pandemic fan, but it rejuvenated that game into something a lot of people really liked. I may not have been one of them, but it's still really cool. Just to see, and people are willing to take a chance on the legacy thing. With the nerd rage we've always had, the hobby of keeping things pristine, the fact that many people are willing to tear stuff up and permanently alter the game shows a little bit of maturity. I think electronic integration, as a smart electronic integration, is coming a long way, but it's still not taking away the soul of the board game. So I like that too. So I have lots of things I think are cool right now.
But then, what about all the crap games that come out? That
there have always been crap games. I've been to Walmart.
But wouldn't you say there's more crap games than wouldn't you say there's more crap games than there are good games though?
But that's always been the case, and it always will be the case, because it's easy to make a crap game. It's difficult to make a good game. But there's still, so percentage-wise, yes, there's more crap than good, but the number of good is probably the highest it's ever been of number of good. It's just the problem at the heart of this is there's just so many games coming out, and there are a lot of good games. It's hard for the great games to rise up and get noticed in some ways because we're such a cult of the new hobby right now. It's we want the next big good thing, and we'll play the game twice and move on to something else. I'm super guilty of that. I've got this shelf full of games, and there's games I haven't played for years, but I don't want to get rid of them. I might want to play it again, but every time I look at it on my shelf, I never grab it and want to play it. So there's only so much time, and games take a lot of time to play. And I think that's probably why we've been trending towards the shorter games, is people want to play more games because there's so many games out there. And so the market's feeding us what we're asking for. It's our fault, not the market.
It's a good point. How about you, Lance?
My friends. That's insane. My life has been enriched by all the people that I've met in this hobby, and so that's the really cool thing. But and so that's. But then again, the cynical me says, well, if I had really, really liked playing horseshoes, I would have met really cool people playing horseshoes too. So.
No, those people are strange.
I like playing horseshoes. Actually, it's fun.
I've met a lot of cool people in a lot of the things I do, but with this hobby, I see less of the extreme jerkwads. Because I was into video games before, and yeah, there's a community of good people, but man, there's a lot of dicks playing video games out there. And with board gaming being a social hobby and usually face to face, you don't have that internet anonymity thing kicking in where you feel like being a tool to everybody all the time. It's the equivalent of the video games when you sat on the couch with your buddy and played a game against him, or you're playing Madden with a guy sitting next to you. He did a jerkwad thing. You'd reach over and punch him, and he'd punch you back. And that same thing can happen at the board game table. Not necessarily literally, but there's a better social contract when you're face to face, and people tend to behave better. I mean, it's not 100% across the board, but you usually don't socialize with those that don't adhere to your general unwritten social contract that you're dealing with. So, but there's more just random people that at the time are random people, and they become friends rather quickly at conventions and within the community itself. There's really, really great people that I've met in dealing with board gaming. Lance, Barry, Aldi, Rodney, Marty, people like that, Jamie. These are all great people. And then you get to know some of the publishers at some of the smaller conventions, and they're great people too. Yeah, they're running a business, and that's what they're doing. But when they're not busy, they'll sit down and play a game with you and cut up and have a good time. So it's still a very intimate hobby due to how relatively small it is compared to everything else. And that's why I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Yeah, I think this hobby does, like when you're face-to-face, really good job of self-policing the behaviors. Because if somebody's not doing something right, they get pushed out pretty quick.
I saw like your video of throwing the people out of the convention you're at.
That guy? Look, that guy is so cool. That kid was lucky is all I got to say. Between, that was the third instance in 2 days with that guy. And he was talking about coming back and stabbing people and shooting people and stuff. That was a bad scene for him. It could have gone south real fast. And if you heard the video towards the end where the guy's like, "Stand down, Greg, stand down," that was his boss trying to go military mode because he was about to break him in half. The guy who was in there was an ex-Marine. So, but that was at a BronyCon. It doesn't count.
A BronyCon?
Yeah. I've done 37 conventions, or 35 conventions at that point in time. Never once felt the need to go out to the car and get a gun. At a BronyCon of all places, I had to go do that. It was unreal.
Well, I mean, how was the BronyCon? Tell me what happens at a BronyCon. Tell me.
Oh man, I should just keep my mouth shut about the BronyCon. I'll tell you what. That's a very interesting community. If you like to study human behavior, and especially if you like to study abnormal human behavior, and I'm not saying in a bad way, but if you were into that sort of field, a BronyCon will be the place to go to get a wide range of interesting social behaviors, because you have so many people that seem to be the Asperger's spectrum. You definitely have some autistic people there, and then you just have people that just are socially socially disorganized. But you get them together, and it's amazing to watch, because when you watch them walking around singularly, they don't look good in the eye. They have really twisted speech the way they talk. They're not clear, concise. You can tell they're awkward in what they're doing. But then you get the guys talking together, and they start talking about the show. It's like us sitting here right now. It's like totally normal, totally fine. So it's a really interesting event there. The people there were really good. The guy that we had a problem with wasn't even part of the convention. He just happened to be staying at the hotel and causing problems. But I did tell you I did freak out by the big giant Pinkie Pie that came walking down the hall. And I had one person come up from behind and grab me, and I almost flipped out. But I guess it was that type of character. But they bought board games, so I made money there. So I was happy.
Well, that's good. So, I mean, it's, so at a BronyCon, sorry, at a BronyCon, would you say that, I mean, is it 50-50 guys, girls? Or is it really brony? I mean, is it really like mostly dudes?
There was I'd say about 65% male, but the rest were women.
Now, is it just like, is it gaming? Is it movies? Is it,
No, they just have a bunch. I mean, look, I picked and chose where I went inside the BronyCon. Usually it was at the bar. But they had this one was called the Grand Brony Gala. So they actually had like a dance, like a dressed up gala that you go to, like a formal gala is the word I'm trying to think. And they had that Saturday night. Friday night, they had this whole reenactment of an episode, which I'll give them props for, going through and doing this episode as much as they did. But most of the time, I stuck in the vendor hall or I went to the bar. But they had panels like any other convention, so it was just like any other convention. But I will say there was one hardcore vendor. This cat rode a bus down from Massachusetts with five big boxes of his product and a freaking sewing machine. And he was at the convention the entire time sewing this big, huge plush pony. So it was kind of interesting.
Nice. BronyCon.
Nobody else knows what to say. Now that I said it, I can see their
Yeah,
faces.
I just to be fair, ever since I saw the game Philosophies at Gen Con, I just nothing really surprises me anymore. So that yeah. So are you familiar with Philosophies?
No, and I don't want to be.
The deck building game about furries. That yeah, if you get that game, make sure your kids don't find it. Let's leave it at that. So
now I went to one of the few conventions that I just turned around and walked out of. There was I forget what the name of it was. It was towards the January, February. I went to. It was a furry con, and I always asked a question about what's the rating of the show, because some of those cons can go really bad. They go, oh, it's PG-13. I was like, okay, so I go there, go to the convention. I go to the hotel, the elevator doors open up, and there's a fur pile in the elevator. I turned around and left. I was like, nope, not going to happen.
nice.
So if you know what a fur pile is, it's not a pretty sight.
All right. Well, what about you, Barry? What do you think's positive about the industry right now?
Oh, in general, the growth in the community. I mean, they're pumping out all these board games for a reason, and it's because the hobby is growing, And I've never. We talk about the social idiots, on social media, at conventions or anything like that. I've never ran into them, other than some media people, but other normal people. I've never run into them at conventions and all that. Or, and they bring on people no matter what skill level they are in board game. And I've seen, I've been in the hobby 3 or 4 years now, and I've seen it double since I've been in the hobby. Yeah, so it's just the growth of it.
Yeah. Talking positive just isn't as stirring as the.
I can talk positive about a lot of stuff. I like to let other people talk though.
Talking positive is why they don't do it in the news, because it's not interesting.
Yeah.
I will say though, Barry, I love the chair you're in right now because it makes you look like you're in this big old commando chair.
That's his Java chair.
Yeah.
Have you ever met Barry, Mark? He was at BGCon last year. I don't know. Maybe you crossed
We
paths.
probably crossed paths, but you know, as much as I was going around and hustling and trying to get the Evil Genius Death Ray out there, his face looks familiar, so I'd have to say yes, we met at least once.
It could be. I don't recall myself. All right. So how about a game workshop splitting with Fantasy Flight? Any comments on that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there goes Warhammer Quest again.
That's the part that
Yeah.
sucks. Is you get this nice new game, and now there'll be nothing else for it.
Yeah.
So Fantasy Flight will take that game and retheme it in one of their universes and make us buy it again. I predict that will happen. Just a gut feel. I know there's a lot of people bummed that they won't have a Forbidden Stars expansion. Unless they find a way to sell that to us as a new Star Wars game. I don't see that happening either.
My thoughts on that is it ain't out by now. We weren't going to have it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think the reason we don't have it by now is because this is coming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense because you see GW stepping up with producing their own board games and stuff again. So, with that going on, it makes a lot of sense. And since they've been able to actually produce some games successfully themselves, they don't really need to, let FFG make all the money from it. With them just getting licensing, they can get it all themselves. So. It doesn't impact me other than I would like to have had some more Blood Bowl team manager stuff, but I don't have any affinity for the GW universe, so it doesn't really matter to me. But there's a lot of people I'm sure care.
I think it's probably some of the now that the industry is growing so much that GW wanted their own stuff back. They wanted, it's sort of like Marvel wanting all their properties back.
Mm-hmm.
Is GW doing better financially than they were? They were a little rocky there for a while. Did they bounce back from that?
I don't know, but this may be an attempt to help do so.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know much about GW itself. I'm not in the miniatures, but I've heard a few things here and there.
I imagine that, if they might not have been doing well before, they probably will be doing a lot better now that they have their properties. But if all their properties are underneath their belt, I think it's going to be a way to make themselves a little bit more stable. It's GW. I think they have a couple more online games coming out now to build up their stuff as well. So.
Now, do you think there are a lot of people who poured over from the miniature wargaming to board games?
You're talking about for what? For like miniatures to video games?
No, to board games, or do you think they just stick with the miniature war games?
Most of the people I know that do miniatures are also very much into other board games. I guess the only market where I haven't seen a lot of people going over to different types are like the historical miniature people. A lot of times just stick with that. But it was actually funny because I have a couple friends of mine that were heavy into Warhammer, and they turned around and said, you know what? I didn't realize how much cheaper the hobby was if you just go with regular board games.
Yes, yeah, I've never seen that. I've never seen a wargamer. A couple people I know, they played around with it for a while, but they never really to the extent where some of the miniature wargamers are. I've never seen one port over to the board game.
It also could be depending on the area you're in. Like, I could tell you down here in my area, not many people. I guess the whole miniatures is, well, now with Fantasy Flight with Star Wars, it might be changing a little bit. But a lot of the people down here are focusing on more board games and not so much the miniatures anymore.
Yeah, I think it's the same here.
But
I
I wonder how much of that is also backlash for Asmodee's stance on distribution.
The machinations of the things that go on, beyond the pale, as far as the big corporations. I mean, that's so tough to discern. I mean, like, Asmodee is an entity, but then it is so, obliquely huge that it's just like, the main company, which I forget the name of all the time, that owns Asmodee is like, this just giant multinational firm that owns like gajillions of dollars of things. So, I mean, they have their, bottom lines and, and things that they have to respond to. And they have to, and so, yes, somewhere down the line, the responses have to be made and what have you. But I mean, you always just wonder. It's just like, that, like, yeah, people in Asmodee probably know a lot about board games and the board game industry and things like that. But the way higher ups, I mean, it's just a number figure on their ledger. I mean, it's just so it's tough to figure out as far as where that is.
Yeah,
so, I don't know. It's one of those crazy things about the industry. I mean, it's like any other industry. And that's the weird thing too, is that, like, it's fun to talk about and it's fun to discuss, but it's just like any other industry. It'll grow to the point where it gets too big, and then we'll have a period of like, where the glacier shrinks,
Right.
and it'll find its mass that it's supposed to be at. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's just it's so weird how I mean, I've said this repeatedly over and over again. It is really weird how big board games are for us, but in reality, it's still so tiny. I mean, it's just like, it's in a weird way. I was thinking about it today. It's like I'm staring out my window. I'm looking up. Oh, careful.
Why is he mooning us?
Be right back.
I'm staring out my window, and what's on that chair? I mean, look at his chair. Some weird T-shirt of some sort. It looks like a Christmas sweater, but like with
But like a t-shirt version.
yeah, but look, it's like satellites and planets and what have you. But anyway, no. So I was looking at my window, and I'm looking at my yard, and my yard's huge. It's like, like a half acre or whatever, and I'm looking at my yard and watch my dogs run around, and I'm just like, this is my little parcel of land, that I own, and I'm like thinking about that, and then I'm thinking about how much bigger my town is, and I'm thinking about how much bigger my state is, and how much bigger my just the country is, and then the planet. You get to like kind of a macro thing with the planet. Then you start thinking about like our spot in the universe and how like we're just this tiny little dot right in the universe. And so I'm having one of those weird metaphysical moments or whatever, where you just start thinking about mortality, and I have to like kind of push reality out of my mind so I can just kind of enjoy the moment of watching my dogs chase rabbits around, and then I kind of like also then all of a sudden realized that like the board game industry is like so tiny compared to compared to everything else, compared to movies, compared to music, compared to TV shows, compared to all this other media. And yet we talk about all the time, it's like, oh my gosh, board games are getting too big. It's just like, whatever. It's like nothing compared to anything else. So, it's just, it's one of those things too, where I kind of like have that moment of realization where it's like, yeah, we need to just get over ourselves, kind of thing, and just let it be. Board games will be here long after we stop caring about them, because we got like 3 marbles rolling around in our head, and
Yep.
yeah. So
That shirt, by the way, is a Loot Crate shirt.
Okay. Hey, just did everybody get their copy of Fury of Dracula before they lost the IP? Nope.
What happened?
Well, because Warhammer took away all their stuff.
Yeah.
So,
It's still available. You can go buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can still find it online. The big one is Chaos in the Old World, like finding a copy of that because it was in between print runs. Up until today or yesterday, you could still order copies through the FFG shop. They still had a few copies left. I was actually I mentioned it when I heard about it. I mentioned it to my local game store, and he had a copy. And I said, "Put it aside. I'll be down there in just a few seconds." Because
If I didn't want the game when it was available, I don't want it when it's not available, so it won't affect me.
Yeah, I'm not that big of a collector.
oh, Chaos in the Old World is who's repeating? Who's there? Mark, is that you? I'm gonna have to mute you and figure out if it's you.
It's him.
It's you, Mark. Your speaker or something is giving us feedback. But no, like Chaos in the Old World in a lot of ways is, in my opinion, better than Blood Rage. It's like it's more brutal as far as the game goes, and it's also like the weird paths to winning are more weirdly distinct and like for if you know the background for like the whole process or what have you. So
I'm sure Games Workshop, if it'll sell, they'll reprint it under their title. Yeah. Well, I don't know. In a case like that, well, you can't copyright.
Is that better?
Mechanics, so.
well, I can still hear you, so it's not better, but we'll be fine.
Oh man, my eye itches.
So, Lance, in a situation like that, what would happen? Would they be able to reprint the game, or would they have to change it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I don't think they'd be able to reprint it.
No, I don't think so.
I'm not sure because
The only thing
trademark mechanics.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could get Eric Lang to remake it, and just call it something else. You just couldn't use like Zinch and Korn and those guys. You couldn't use those guns.
I'm not talking about Fantasy Flight. I'm talking about Games Workshop.
Could they do it?
Yeah.
No, I mean that's a real gut reaction in my opinion. I mean even if they would want to, because I'm pretty sure they wouldn't like the miniatures that are in it. They think they were horrible. But I don't. I mean, they just own the intellectual property, in my opinion.
I think if they were to do that, go ahead, Keith.
The mechanisms aren't copyrightable. So they could make a wholesale copy as long as they didn't plagiarize the rule book and the text on the cards.
True, but I think the backlash that would happen after that.
Yeah, but Games Workshop showed they don't give two shits about backlash.
They might not, but the backlash would be that nobody buys the game.
But that would only happen to the people that cared.
Yeah.
And they don't have to sell it to those people. I don't think it'll happen, but they could do it.
I think there could be something along the lines where, that if they just like reskin it and just redo the things, I think it would leave such a bad taste in so many big publishers' mouths. Even if Games Workshop has to sell their property off again, nobody will probably want to. It'll probably give a lot of big publishers pause. If you're stealing a game because you pulled your licensing, yeah, that's sort of a jerk thing to do.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I'm just saying they could. I don't think they will.
Oh, Lance, I know you're coming home with some gifts from Treasure Coast, by the way.
Oh, what am I getting treasure? Am I getting
loaded dice?
Am I getting a bucket of sand?
Have you seen the loaded dice?
Are you talking about those loaded dice like shot glasses or whatever?
Oh yeah, this is the beer tumbler.
Did show it to me? Did you hold it up? I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there it is.
And you have to like if the more you drink, the better you roll, or something like that.
Yeah, that's the 20 right there.
I think it's cool, and I think it's really cool that they're doing that. But it's one of those things too, where it's like having to find an excuse to drink was like the 20-year-old me. It's like, oh, let's play President Assholes for like the 80th time. you know.
Well, you know what Tales from the Taverns has the drinking game on it, and we were streaming Monday. We were drinking stuff that we absolutely hated because those guys had to work in the morning, and I didn't, so we couldn't drink alcohol. So we were using these cups to measure how much we had to drink each time somebody was forced to take a drink.
Wow, there is a massive spoiler to a game on Cool Stuff Inc.'s webpage, right on the front banner. That's interesting.
Massive spoiler about what?
Pandemic Legacy.
Yeah, I saw that too. And
Yeah,
it's
that.
like- and I can't believe nobody has said that. You know, like said.
Really? What? Nobody. Either you know what's going on, or you're scratching your head wondering.
Or
why.
you
But
can
it's a good price. It's a good price getting the game for $35.
or you can tie the things together, you know, and recognize it. So,
Right.
and the thing is that I kind of, you know, and I'm not going to give it away, but I kind of saw that coming when I was playing the game, like about the third session. I was
I predicted it without even playing the game. I just knew it was going to be there.
yeah.
Well,
It's
geez,
one of those
guys,
things.
thanks for running the game for me. You know,
You're welcome.
I was saving that up. Which one's better, red or blue, or is it the same game?
It's the exact same thing. It's a different colored box. So it's basically the difference between red and blue and Pokemon Go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
Hey, Covert's out in retail now. If anybody's interested in Covert,
Fantastic game.
I'd like to get my hands on Clank to check out. It's not yet available. And I still, of course, don't have Seafall yet because that has not shipped to pre-orders. So. I did get Dreamwell yesterday, so there's that.
I had mine in my hand. I had one in my hand at. Oh man, where's my wallet? I had one in my hand at Gen Con. Then I put it back. I said, I don't need this right now.
I didn't need it right then either, and I still don't. I just would like to have it.
Yeah. Oops.
Hey, good air. That's good stuff. Good radio.
Always good radio.
Just keep talking. Just keep talking. I'm ordering my Pandemic Legacy finally. It only took me forever and a day. Now that you guys screwed it all up for me. Know what game I'm really excited for? Tales from the Taverns.
What is that? What that is?
That's my game.
I don't know. I can't understand you, Mr. Microphone. What the heck happened to your audio?
Mr. Microphone. That brings back some memories.
Oh yeah, remember that?
Hey, speaking of Mr. Microphone, I finally watched Stranger Things.
Let's try it this way.
What? Who? What? Weird. No.
Is that better?
That's better.
Tales from the Taverns. When does it go live, there, bud?
It's already live.
Is it funded?
No, we're at 7,000. And if you want to talk about something interesting that's not negative, but like some interesting things that happen on Kickstarter, I jokingly put up a $5,000 pledge level and said Biogenius Games for Life because I figured it'll take about 100 games before that actually ends up costing me money, even at the base. Somebody backed it, and they backed it from Backer Club. So you want to talk about a nervousness of like, man, is that real or is that fake?
Yeah, I mean that's one where you might want to reach out to the backer, you know, and just say.
I did, and they've backed some of our other levels at pretty high. They've backed every game of ours so far, so I'm thinking it's real, especially since it's coming from a backer club, super backer at over 200 backers per.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, that's
Well, cool, man. $5,000. That's nothing to sneeze at.
no. I was doing I cursed very loudly in a restaurant when that came through.
Nice.
Wondering what was, you know, and now I'm doing the wondering game. So we're actually have our first stretch goal. Where we're going to put shot glasses as a stretch goal.
What's your funding level on that one?
Oh, 10K.
Oh, so why'd you cancel it the last time?
We canceled the last time because the cost of the game was too high because we had 10 play mats in there, that were cardboard, and it jacked the cost of the game up by almost double. So we took those out, and we turned a $50 game into a $35 game. So that's why we just took it out. I mean, the weight was really high, and the cardboard didn't bring anything to it. And most people are getting the neoprene mats anyway, you know. So it's like, well, if you're going to get neoprene, you don't need cardboard, and I'm wasting money. So I canceled it and redid it, and we had no traction after like the first week. We went to PAX and only got like 10 people to sign up at PAX. I was like, forget about it. I was like, let me reassess, and then I shut it down, and then we redesigned the box to make it bigger to have the play. You got a copy of Death Ray, right?
A what?
A copy of Death Ray, Evil Genius Death Ray.
Yeah, you gave it to me at BGG-Con.
So the playmats are going to be like that. Those playmats in there, nice stiff 400 GSM paper. So it plays a lot better that way. Your kid does the same thing my kid does, though, by building storylines.
Oh yeah, that's the best part about the game. Well, I was watching her do that actually. I mean, not that the other part stinks or anything like that, but yeah, I enjoyed watching her go through that process. Yeah, it's a fun game. And since I destroyed my prototype, you're gonna have to give me another one.
I had to call around asking, do you have a prototype? Do you have a prototype? Do you have a prototype I sent you? Because I forgot to actually hit submit on my prototype order for Treasure Coast. So instead of having 2 to 3 copies of the game, I have 1. Luckily, the guys that just got played are bringing over the prototype I gave them, and I'll have 2.
Well, for what it's worth, I felt bad.
No, I don't care. I mean, I imagine you get bunches of games all the time, and I was hoping you had it, but I kind of figured that you can only have so much space. I mean, if I was a reviewer like you, man, my wife would be killing me right now.
Yeah, apparently you didn't see my Facebook post of the. Oh, jeez, here, I'll dig them out here. Yeah. This is my tub of components.
I saw that. I did see that.
After I posted that, I've had like 3 or 4 publishers ask me if I'd send them that. I was just like, you do realize that it weighs 1,000 billion pounds. Like the shipping on it alone. Yeah, the shipping on it alone would be like absolutely through the roof. But I'm another one that would say I'd take it and I'd pay for the shipping on it. Yeah. So
because it'd probably be cheaper than buying the parts from Game Crafter.
Yeah, maybe.
I backed a game yesterday.
What'd you back? Tell us.
Chimera Station.
Oh, well, speaking of Chimera Station, did you know that TMG currently has a game in Kickstarter by the name of Chimera Station, a worker placement game in which you get to manipulate and mutate your workers so they can have different powers and abilities, and you get to change them up as you play the game.
And so that falls into what I was discussing earlier, that we can take a game like a worker placement game and people are still innovating and doing something different with it, which is what this is. And I think that's cool.
I backed it. Only because you shared it, Lance.
I backed it because I watched a video by Richard Ham.
Well, that's fine. As long as somebody looked at it, right? And took a look.
And I listened to Jeremy's video as well. But
did you watch mine?
I have not watched yours.
No, why would you?
Because I fell asleep watching Richard's, that's why.
Oh, well, see, I would have kept you awake.
Is it bad that I don't watch any videos? I just go there and I'm like, that's cool, I'll back it.
I rarely watch videos anymore.
I don't have time.
Yeah, there is a time situation, a timestamp that it takes to get through those.
That was the first gaming video I watched in 2 weeks, so I'm pretty pathetic right now compared to normal.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm less pathetic compared to normal. It depends on how you want to look at it.
I was going to tell you. Okay, go ahead.
Did you you have a copy of Battle Monkeys, don't you?
Maybe. I don't know why.
Oh, because they're going to be at Treasure Coast. and I was talking with them today.
Okay. I
I
believe
said,
you.
you're going to be there. And he goes, oh, maybe he's waiting for them to review my game.
I have to look. I mean, it sounds familiar. I don't know. Just
It's a small box.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not something that like is time sensitive for the Kickstarter, it goes on the play pile, and then like I wait for like my big Saturday that we have everybody that gets together and plays. So as far as that goes, I mean, it definitely just depends on whether or not I've played it, and it doesn't sound familiar. So I might be waiting, to play it at some point. So, oh yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I know, man. I apologize. We might have a quick Alaboom tonight. I have, like I said, I still have to pack for my trip.
I'm not gonna make it much later, to be honest, but that's just because I didn't even plan on coming on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
And I'm uninteresting this past few weeks, so
Certainly, you're interesting.
Yeah.
What happened to Barry? Did he like fall asleep or something?
Jabba Nobata.
Jabba, why you crispo por grido? That's like my favorite line. He says when he says it's like if you listen to his actual what he's saying, when he asks him like why did he kill Greedo, he says why did you crispo por Greedo?
Because Greedo shot first. I can't even say it with a straight face.
There's a pretty famous picture of George Lucas wearing the T-shirt that says "hand shot first."
I haven't seen that. That's funny.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess you're scrolling through Kickstarter right now, there, Keith.
How'd you know?
Because I can see the reflection of your screen and the other screen behind you.
Nice.
Please don't be looking at like naked people. Because we can see.
Oh, put some pants on.
You can always stop at Tales from the Taverns and click that nice little pledge.
I had that up earlier because that's what got me on Kickstarter to start with. When you were talking about it, let's see what it was.
I backed another one earlier today called Pwned. That guy had to redo his because he just didn't have the marketing push, and it seems to be an interesting thing on it. And what I like about the industry is like you tell somebody, hey, you might want to do something else and reconfigure what you're doing. And that's one of the few guys that took the advice, shut it down, restarted it, and it looks like he's off to a good start already, unlike last time.
I don't know. I hate the name, so I wouldn't look at it. So I am like that. I'll see a name, I'll go, nope, that sounds dumb, and I'll roll right past the name. And Pwn just bothers me. Where's the game that I saw everyone backing yesterday that I need to watch the video for? Daryl's new game. What is the name of that? The stained glass game.
Grata, great game.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
Back it. Just back it right now. Do it.
Just back Tales from the Taverns. Just back Loaded Dice. Trust
I didn't think I was backing much, but I'm actually backing a few things right now because I'm backing the Tiny Epic Galaxy stuff and the Chimera Station and the One Night Ultimate Alien that I'm not necessarily sold on, but I've got the rest of the shit, so I might as well get that too. Is that sad? Because that's exactly what it is.
Great reason to get a game because I got the rest of this shit.
Yeah. Hey, I'm proud of myself because I don't have Red Rock Tomahawk for Flick 'em Up because I didn't buy that expansion yet. But to be honest, I'm just waiting until I have something worth ordering so I can get that with free shipping. I have not bought a game since Gen Con other than Mansions of Madness because there's been sod all worth having that I am interested in released since then.
Yeah.
I've become very jaded at the moment. I'm a bad person. I'm barely on Twitter right now because I'm not playing games. It's not as much fun to talk about them.
True.
And I've been out doing the other hobby a little bit, so that's been fun. And World of Warcraft.
Actually, at Treasure Coast, the chick that played the orc in the Warcraft movie is going to be there. It's her first convention.
I never
I
saw
hope
the
no one
movie.
flings poo at her. So, 'cause
Huh?
I hope no one flings poo at her, since that was not a well-received movie.
Not in the
I-
U.S.,
I-
but in China it was. I mean, China loved it.
I had a few people that said that they liked it just because it was just like turn your brain off, as far as fun goes. Just go there, watch the effects, watch the watch it, and then go from there, kind of thing. So I don't know. What do you do?
It was a fun movie to watch, and I mean, that's one thing I don't like about people that are watching movies nowadays. They expect everything to be a freaking Oscar winner. It doesn't need to be. It just needs to be fun.
Yeah, my problem is to take my family to the movies to see fun. It's going to cost $50, so it better be worth me going to see it, or it is waiting for Netflix. Because I could buy a board game with what it costs to go to the movies. But I also use that logic in reverse. Who cares if I only played a board game once? I got just as much enjoyment out of it as I would have going to watch a movie. And I can resell the board game if I really, really hate it. I cannot resell going to that damn movie. All I've got is a gut full of greasy popcorn and Coke Zero and a bad taste in my mouth in the film. But I want to go see the new Magnificent Seven, and I hope it's not horrible.
Well, it'll be nothing like the original, and the original.
So the interesting thing is, I've never seen the original. So
Oh well, I'm sorry. You have to be muted now.
no, I haven't seen it. But
So he hasn't. He's just gonna keep talking and pretend he doesn't realize he's muted. That's fine. No, I mean, you go watch you can watch Kurosawa. Actually, you can watch Seven Samurai, which is amazing. But a lot of people say the pacing of that's kind of slow. But if you go watch the original with Lee Marvin and all those guys, oh, what a Yul Brynner. Such a good movie.
but if I go watch the good one, then I'll think the new one sucks, and then I'll be pissed off after I see it. I'd rather see them in the other order and then go, oh, wow, this is way better than the one I saw in the theater. But I would still have enjoyed the other one. But nothing will top my favorite Western, which is Tombstone. Nothing's going to beat that for me. I just enjoyed that one too much because of the age at which I saw it.
We are really dating ourselves right now.
I'm old. I don't care.
Getting old stinks. But it's a lot better than the alternative, as my father says. So, it's...
Getting older way beats being dead.
No, yeah. Well, we don't know. But we will find out, I guess. We'll all find out eventually. Isn't that deep?
Or we won't.
And awful. Well, I read a stat the other day where it said, there's a person living today that will live to be 150. They say that our genetics and everything like that are in whatever eugenics are basically we'll get to the point where we'll have artificial organs and all these other things that will prolong lifespans. So it's if you have the money to pay for it. So, I think that's kind of crazy and neat.
I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
It probably isn't.
No.
Yeah, I won't want another 100, 10 more years of this shit.
This looks like the most unsanitary game in gaming history.
What?
Scrolling through Facebook and see a video of people playing Speak Out.
Oh yeah, that one. Where you had the dental dams in your mouth and all that
Yeah,
crap.
you got a big dental thing in your mouth and look stupid while you're trying to talk. I mean, it looks better than Cards Against Humanity, but oh my gosh, it looks so. Just people putting that back in the box and the smell of it when you open it up again. Ugh, this is disgusting.
Yeah, no thanks.
No, no thanks. I think is a decent game, right? I do.
No, not that one. Nope. It's some of the things. It's like that's a good gimmick game, one off. Haha, that was fun to play. Never touching it again. I don't want to touch it again. I have too many friends that have poor mouth hygiene as it is, dental hygiene.
Yeah, I don't want game pieces that I'm making out with the previous person that played it, most likely. I wonder if Aldi's going to have that in the library at BGG Con.
All right. Cool Stuff obviously does not want to take my money right now.
What are you trying to buy?
The thing that you guys spoiled for me.
No, you're welcome. Cool Stuff did it if you went there, so.
Just wait a while and get Seafall. Nobody can spoil that. Well, I suppose somebody could, but
They were spoiling it. There was a couple of people spoiling it at Gen Con.
well,
They broke it out and started playing it.
Well, yeah, but you can't know, what it is. I mean, it's just like there's no way they could have played that many times and figured it out, right? So, I don't know. It's
Grimslingers is out now. That's pretty cool art and stuff. That looks neat. I looked at that at Gen Con. Why won't they take your money at Cool Stuff?
I have no idea. To be honest with you, Dave's saying there's a problem with the card. I looked at the card.
He's got no money. I feel bad.
He's broke.
Yeah.
He's broke. He don't back his game. He's just gonna run off abscond with the cash.
Shut up, Lance.
That's his own. Go ahead. What'd you say?
I want to go to Essen. Shut up, Lance.
Shut up, Lance.
No, but it went through. The same credit card went through on PayPal. I used the PayPal option, so I had to go through PayPal CSI. So, eat it. Now that's one thing. I find that like a lot of people go through and they buy board games discounted, cheap, and all that stuff. I typically don't. I typically don't go to Cool Stuff either. It's just nobody around me has the game. I actually actively avoid buying stuff on Cool Stuff.
I don't have a game store, so I live on Cool Stuff. I check it every day to see what new posted, to see if there's anything I want. And right now, there is nothing I want, which is bullshit.
Then go back Tales from the Taverns.
That's not immediate gratification.
Fine, you can pick up Thwarted. You'll get that in 2 months.
So, Keith, these Cool Stuff more in miniature market, or?
I use Cool Stuff the most because at my current reward tier at Cool Stuff, I get, what is it? Something ridiculous. I get like 5% off every order.
Okay.
No, sorry, 4% off every order. I'm 85% of the way to level 9, which is the last level at which I will get 5% off of every order. And the amount of money I will have had to have spent to get to level 9 is not something to be bragged about. It is embarrassing. It tells me my total to date that I have spent at Cool Stuff, and if I were to read it out loud, it would be embarrassing.
No, what if you don't have a game store nearby?
No, but I mean, I'll screw it. I'll tell you how bad it is. I spent $4,550.80 at Cool Stuff Inc.
That's not bad.
Since I got into the board gaming hobby, because I started shopping there fairly early on. So 5-6 years, somewhere in there. But I use Miniature Market sometimes, but Miniature Market's better for me to order one off because the shipping's a little bit cheaper to me. And it actually gets to me faster now that Cool Stuff went to shitty shipping for their free shipping and went to freaking FedEx crap post. It takes it a lot longer to get to me from Florida, whereas St. Louis gets it to me in 2 days on UPS ground.
Okay.
So that's a way better shipping. but they get stuff a little bit slower at Miniature Market, and it's harder to find the new stuff I want on their website because their website still sucks. So that's why I end up shopping at Cool Stuff more often. Plus, I get that extra 4% off.
My wife got a hold of the bank account and went through and saw how much I pledged on Kickstarter. My wife said if I did not have to use Kickstarter to do my business stuff, I would be forever banned from ever going to this website ever again.
I don't want to think about how much I've spent on Kickstarter. That would be bad. I don't want to go back and add that up. I've backed over 200 projects, so that's bad enough.
I'm not that far along, but I'm at I think I'm 100 and something.
Yeah, you're junky too, so.
Yeah, the guys that did the Dorton forged stuff for Pathfinder and D&D and all that.
Yep.
I backed all 3 of their projects at $500 to $600 a pop, just on those alone. Before I got sick and tired of backing the stuff on Cool Mini or Not, I was doing their top tier stuff, so I was getting hit $400 a pop on their stuff. That's one thing I'd like to see that's one thing I'd like to see the companies go away from, having such huge high tier levels that you're spending hundreds just to get the stuff that should be released pretty much in stages, all in one shot, because it takes away from everybody else getting it.
I really, the one that burns me out, and I've been doing less and less of it, is add-ons, and then I've got to sit there and get out a calculator and figure out what I need to pledge to get all the stuff that I think I want for this game that I've never even played yet. And I literally just am like, okay, I'll look and see, what do I get that's exclusive now? And that's the only thing I'm going to get now. Just because, and that has to be a game I'm really interested in. So if I'm back and say a cool mini game that I know I'm into, so let's say the Samurai game that's coming, I know I'm going to want that. I will back that at the level that I make sure I get everything that I can only get through Kickstarter. And then if there's some other stuff available, I may or may not do that. And that's what I did for the last Arcadia Quest as well, just because I'm tired of putting out all the cash up front for things that I don't have to. And it's also, the fact is that, in this industry, it's like those guys are sort of taking over such a commanding aspect of the market. It's kind of hard to sit there and, I'm judging when to launch all my stuff to see when they're launching theirs, just to make sure that, customers will have money to spend. Oh, yeah, that is part of it, because when they launch one of their big packages, you can drop $350 real quick, and then you're like, well, there went my gaming budget for the month.
From people for 6 months, Yeah.
Well, I was talking about myself, not normal people, not people that are idiots. I still can't find enough to put together an order. This is pathetic.
That's why I stay away from there. If I pop on there, they have cool stuff, has really good RPG stuff that nobody else carries. And the other day I was finding lots of obscure RPG books that I was interested in, and before I knew it, I had a $250 shopping cart. I finally had to just log out. I was just I can't do that. So
I still can't put together $100, so nothing I want. Hi, Jim.
He's not.
How you guys doing tonight?
Oh, Jim. How many of you had? How many of you had, Jim?
How many?
Scotches.
I've had 3 scotches.
Excellent.
I had some people over, and yes, that's right. How many hands am I holding up? Had some people over, had a nice conversation, enjoyed the evening, and then I thought I'd top it off with the wonderful company of you guys.
You don't know me very well.
Hi, Mark. I'm Jim.
Nice. Hi, Jim. I'm Mark. People usually don't say I'm lovely, though.
You are lovely.
It usually starts off with that a-hole.
No, you are a lovely human being. I can tell from here. Is that
about that? A cat fight.
Is that Barry?
Yeah, he's
Hi,
back.
Barry.
Hey, Jim.
How's it going, buddy?
All right, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you doing?
I can't complain.
Well, you can, but why bother, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So what I missed, fill me in.
We've just been talking about what we think is good and bad about the industry, and then talking about a BronyCon, and we've been talking about different games we're playing. So, Jim, what do you think is the best thing about the industry? He wasn't even on last week. What do you think is the worst thing about the board game industry right now?
The worst thing, I think, is Kickstarter.
Ooh, go on.
Really?
Go on.
I think that it's being abused by people who don't need to use it, and the people who need to use it are being eclipsed by that. And I think that it's flooding the market with so many games that the poor game store owners are in a quandary of what to do and what to stock, and that people are buffeted by so much that they just don't know what to choose anymore. And
I think Jim's my new best friend.
There are so many derivative games and knockoff games that it's hard for an original game to send a signal to the market. So that's my what's the worst thing. No one's yelling at me yet.
No,
I mean,
I agree with you about the big game companies. That's what we were just talking about when you came in, was talking about the big game companies that are doing such huge stuff. I mean, I also disagree with all the stupid knockoff games that are coming out, especially like the 50 billion versions of Cards Against Humanity, that are going on there. With as cheap as it is to make, you don't need Kickstarter for that. You really don't. And
yeah, and I think I can't speak for everyone, but I know that for me, and maybe it's just the time that I grew up, there's something to be said for shared risk, where I will take on a risk and put something in the market and let people buy it or not, but covering all my risk by a Kickstarter so that I walk in risk free, even if I have to have the capability to support it. There's something that doesn't seem like an honest relationship with the customer anymore. And I guess it depends on, do you call them your customer, or do you call them your fellow gamers? And I think that's something that's kind of lost at this point.
I call them customers. Well, actually, I call them minions or henchmen. But that's just the flavor of my company. So everybody that backs on Kickstarter or whatnot, I turn around and say, your minion number, and I give them a number. Unless they do one of the ego pledges, they have no names to us. Of course, when they're in front of us in person, we'll talk with them and call their names and all that. But people seem to love that too, because they'll write their minion number on their shirts that we have and all that other stuff. We got the ribbons now for the lanyards, so at least we engage our customers. There's so many companies out there. You have a complaint and they won't even talk to you.
Yeah.
Cool mini.
I think the best thing about this industry is the creativity that it can bring to bear in looking at things in new and funky ways. I think that putting twists on things and looking at things from a different angle, I think is amazing. And I think when a company reaches out and does something different, it's quite refreshing. And for that brief moment of time before there's 3 or 4 or 5 or however many copycats, it's really a breath of fresh air. So I think that's a really, really good positive thing about the industry. Plus, I also like how I think it allows parents in certain families, I suppose, to interact with their kids in a way that is meaningful. I posted on Twitter recently that my second best thing ever was that my teenage daughter decided she wants to learn how to play D&D, and my best thing ever was that she asked me to be the DM. And so that that kind of thing is rare and wonderful, and I think that's the greatest thing about this industry.
That's more personal. What's more of a macro thing that you think is great about the industry? That because you're part of it, you get to afford nice scotch.
That's not from proceeds of game sales.
That's the day job.
That's the day job, exactly. I think that for me, the greatest thing is talking to people who are not afraid to express their ideas and originality to you in person. So there are many people I've spoken with who they'll open up to you in a way and relate to you in a way that's very pure and very open that they can't do to other people who don't have a foundation in the gaming world. The set of metaphors we have to draw upon, the set of common experiences we have to draw upon to express ourselves, I think is a wonderful common language. But a lot of the people who I talk to, meet at conventions and talk to at conventions, for example, they can't talk to their friends this way. They can't talk to their coworkers this way, and I think it's a wonderful outlet. That I think is the greatest thing about the industry is select people. And you know what? Because I'm a nice guy, I'm going to include all of you guys in that tonight.
Aw, thanks, buddy.
I know we just met, but I love you too. There are some amazing people in this industry, amazing people to hang out with, get to know, and all that. And I mean, my wife, asked me, she goes, "Why do you like to go into all these conventions?" She goes, "You're not making money at some of them." I was like, "Yeah, but I have fun."
Well, that's what somebody asked me how Gen Con was, and I said, commercially, it was mediocre. But from a business perspective, in terms of connections and seeing people, it was extremely fulfilling and quite valuable.
Yeah. I mean, the big cons, that's what we do, too, for our company, is we look at it as a way to go out there and meet people and all that, and not so much as I don't know what else has chat open, but Keith said a good night.
Keith, I'm so happy that you included me as a wit.
That's right.
But the big cons, we don't go there to expect to make money. We just go there to make connections and the networking, and we signed 2 new games there. So,
you know what? Ask me what the highlight of my Gen Con was.
What's the highlight of your Gen Con?
Getting a hug from Lance.
Aw.
You too?
Aw. So nice.
His wife had like this deer in the headlights look when I came from around the table and gave him a big bear hug. It was great.
She's seen me hug many a man, so she's not intimidated by that at all.
Maybe it was the big Lance.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was like, hey, I think I know a guy that's down here, and so I want her down there.
So Mark, forgive me. What company are you with?
Vile Genius Games.
I'm sorry?
Vile Genius Games.
I just wanted to plug
like
it again.
But Vile, VILE, Vile Genius Games.
I just wanted him to get a second plug.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm all about that. Actually, there's some new avenues opening up for this industry too for getting the stuff out there. I found a group called Twitch Game Night, and they've had me on their show like 3 or 4 times at their house because they're local here. But they did a lot of plugging of our stuff and
where is here, Mark?
Coral Springs or Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay, Florida, gotcha.
So that was kind of interesting that I found them, and I get to go there and plug the stuff. And as entertaining as it is, that's where we're getting a lot of traction on our Kickstarter was from their viewers, and they have anywhere between 40 to 100 people tuning into every one of their streams. it's kind of a new avenue, I think, that was untapped before. So it's kind of interesting the different avenues people find and to get stuff out there.
So what is it that they do on? They play a game live on Twitch? Is that the whole?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they stream live on Twitch. When they do the streaming, they have they'll have the banner going for whatever game they're playing, and they have somebody that actively interacts with the chat, so people can ask questions and even play with them. So some games they control what the Twitch proxy does to play the game at the table. So it's kind of interesting. And they're just a fun group of people who've been around. They made me brownies on Monday.
Nice.
It was delicious. It offset the nasty stuff that we were drinking for my game.
So Barry, were you on vacation for a while?
No, I was down the shore over the weekend. I'm sorry. I have a place down at the Cape May Courthouse, Jersey. We go there on the weekends, and it's actually I got to close it up in the next couple of weeks. But the internet's real shoddy down there. It's But, yeah,
it looks like you're in a different. Looks like you're in a different location in your home.
Nah, it's my house. I don't know. I'm back in Delaware.
So I went to buy Mansions of Madness to try it out, and my game store sold out, so I didn't buy it.
I enjoy it.
Is it good?
I enjoy it. I enjoyed the first one, but I think the second one's better to an extent. I think they may have dumbed it down a little too much in some places, but for the most part, I like it better than the first one. What about you, Lance? Did you play it yet?
Nope.
Are you going to?
I will.
I don't know how you felt with the app integrated.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, ever since my app fear was kind of ruined when I decided I liked XCOM, then I can't argue that anymore. So
I absolutely love the app in One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
Yeah.
In fact, this is how shallow and stupid of a person I am. I'm debating whether to drop $150 on this One Night Ultimate Alien just to get those clear plastic tokens for One Night Ultimate Werewolf. You're awfully quiet tonight, Lance. You feeling okay, buddy?
He's got to get ready for his trip tomorrow.
yeah, I'm making a list of things that I gotta take care of. Not least of which is I gotta do a couple of videos before I go to bed tonight. So
Where are you going?
I'm going to Treasure Coast ComicCon.
He's going to come see me.
Yay!
Yay! Hey, I was going to ask you, what hotel am I staying at?
The Holiday Inn with Stephen Avery.
Yeah, I know I'm staying with Stephen Avery, which yay! What's nearby there? Like, is there within walking distance? And is it a bad part of town or anything like that? Do I have to worry about anything being within walking distance?
Can Lance make any money on the street?
I was more referring to I always I mean if there's like a grocery store or something nearby, so I can go there and I always if I need to stop and get some granola bars or something before I leave town.
Well, what I was gonna when you get here, I'm gonna give you your complimentary Glock. So it's Florida. Let me pull up to see what's in the area. I mean, it's only 1.5 miles from the Civic Center, so it's not far away from a lot of stuff.
Wait a minute! I got to walk to the Civic Center every day, 1.5 miles?
Yeah, don't you know that's sort of the exercise factor on that?
No, I did not know that. I thought maybe there was just a hotel that was nearby, not 1.5 miles away. Are you kidding me?
Well, we're going to take you there. Don't worry, you'll get to and from the place. Jeez, you acting as if we're just going to leave you in the hotel and say walk.
Well, I mean, I get a lot of a lot of room on my Pokemon Go, I suppose. So I mean, that just seems like my daughter's all worried. She's like, "You're gonna go to Florida, and there's gonna be like so many good Pokemon down there, and you're gonna get them, and I'm not gonna be able to get them." And I was like,
Well, log into her app for her and get them.
"What?"
Log into on your phone with her user information and snag them for her.
Why would I do that?
Maybe you don't love your daughter. I don't know. I did.
Oh no! Actually, that's a good idea. I should do that. I should get her information and.
Well, I did it when I was at Gen Con. I got that. What is it? The Taurus, the bull thing, the North American unique or whatever. And I got one for my wife, my daughter, and myself. Hold on. You're distracting me, Lance.
Yeah, possibly. So I got into a discussion with somebody that about, I'm not going to talk about it. It was like a social thing, and finally they like basically were saying is like basically I was saying that like somebody's intentions, like my argument was that if somebody wants like a certain thing that's really really good, and everybody can agree that it's good, but their intentions for doing it like are self-serving. I agree completely with what they want, to happen, and it's good that they're saying or they're doing whatever it is. But I want to know. I want transparency of their reasons behind what they're doing. Just because I think, because I maybe I'm dumb. That's what I want.
That's too vague. I need more specificity.
No, I'm not going to because because I'm not going to like so.
I don't want you to name names. I just want you to know. I just want to know what you mean by transparency. What do you want?
Like if the reason behind it is like this isn't the issue, but let's say for example, a corporation donates money to a charity, ostensibly because they want to help out the community, but the reason why they're doing it is because they're getting like either kickbacks or a tax break or whatever. Like I want to know the transparency behind the actions. Yes, it's great that you gave $5,000 to Habitat for Humanity, but me personally, I want to know why. It's something that I think, because I can disassociate the two. I can say it's amazing that you're doing that and thank you, but I want to know the reasons behind it.
So let me ask you this, Lance. If I'm a corporation,
yes,
I give $5,000 for Habitat for Humanity, and I say I want to do it because I want to help the community, would you believe me?
Well, with you, you're not a corporation. You're one man. If you're
well, in general, people tend to believe what they prefer to be true.
Well, and that's it, and that's just it. And the thing is that when I'm kind of cynical about these things, so I mean, it's just like, so I have to go by the things that I know. But it was one of those things where, like, I had like we kind of went back and forth, and I said, what does it matter? It's like I tend to think that we're all relatively intelligent. We can decide. Yes, it is very good that you want, cause X to occur, but I want to know the reasons behind the people that are saying that they want that, and they're saying, well, that ruins the argument, and you're making it. I said, why? Why is it? And why? It's like, why wouldn't you want to know? So, just the thing is that then they said, well, it's like, well, what you're doing is you're and one of the things I hate, I shouldn't say I hate, but I really, really dislike is when people think if they say, oh, you're making an ad hominem comment or you're straw man or something like that, you don't have to use a terminology for arguments or you can just come out and just say, I think this, and just give the definition. But people think that they're smart or whatever when they say, oh, that's ad hominem or whatever, and so like when somebody basically was like saying, oh, what you're doing is I don't even know what it was anymore, but it was like you're saying that what you're saying is true because I can't disprove it, so that must make it true. And I was just like, well, no, it's just, I've said repeatedly in this conversation, that's just what I feel, and that's what I think, not that it's the case. And then the thing is, and they were like, well, and I said, and by the way, I said, you're on the exact opposite argument, but you have no evidence to back up what you're saying either. So you're just making an argument against yourself. and then that person stopped talking to me. So yes, I you know, it's like, and I shouldn't feel good about winning an argument like that though. I should just be like, I don't know.
So what's the question?
No, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to get into a giant political argument with anybody today. So, you know, just I dislike. Yeah, I don't know. I think most people are good. That you know, and I think that if we give most people a chance, they will I don't know. I wish things were all. I wish I knew everything. I guess, you know. I remember being asked by a philosophy professor once, "Would you prefer complete omniscience and the inability to speak or talk to anybody else ever for the rest of your life?" And I actually thought that might be nice.
Prefer to what?
Well, prefer to being. He said, as opposed to, like every day is like the most perfect day. Like you bite into an apple and it's like the best tasting apple in the world. Everybody you meet is just the most amazing people you've ever met in your entire life. But you completely forget that day. And then you wake up the next day and you do it all over again.
I like that one.
Yeah.
See, I don't think so.
I don't think so, because if I met some awesome people on yesterday, I will not remember them today.
No, but you'll meet them again.
Maybe not if they're across the country, like Lance there.
Well, you know, that's Lance, of course.
Because every day is not going to have the same experiences and all that. I like experiencing different things on a daily basis.
Yeah, but if you knew everything but couldn't speak, what's the point of knowing everything? I mean,
I
if
would
you're
want neither one of those options.
I don't think that's a choice.
There's always a choice.
Kobayashi Maru! Yeah, so the thing that I find interesting is the adage that man prefers to believe what man prefers to be true. And so the question is, how much of your perception of what goes on is clouded by your preferential belief about the way the world should work. And it's very rare that we can actually step back and say, objectively, what am I hearing and what do I believe? It's all clouded by our preferences of what we want to believe. And it comes down to things like, is there such thing as a truly selfless act, for example? I'd like to believe there is, but you could always make an argument that no act is truly selfless.
True. How deep?
Hey, you dug the hole, man. I just pulled another shovel load out.
Brain hurts. Sorry, my dogs know that I'm going someplace, so they've been like especially annoying tonight, coming up and.
What? I'm excited for your con. That's awesome. How long is it going to go? Is it this weekend only?
Yeah, Friday through Sunday.
Awesome.
So, and it's the first one that I have a hand in, and you know, there's been some bumps, right, Lance?
A few, yes. Getting my travel arranged was a bit of a difficulty.
Lance, are you going as Lance or are you going as TMG?
I will have Chimera Station with me to demo and show off. But that's not like, I don't have any planned events for it. I'm just going to be kind of carrying it around, and I'm going to have my camera, and I'm going to get people's reactions to it and their feeling about it. And then, but for the most part, I'm just going to be me and wander. I'm excited because this is a convention that's going to be more than just gaming, so I'm kind of excited to check everything out. How's the vendor hall at this place?
There's a pretty big vendor hall.
Sam,
That's where Vile Genius Games will be at.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute, puppy.
Say hi, puppy.
So it's the Civic Center is pretty big, so that area is. I don't know. I think that's where most of the vendors are going to be at. So I have a 10x20 there this time because I'm going to be demoing out Tales from the Taverns myself. Well, the people in my booth are going to be. I'm going to be wandering mostly. And then the tabletop area There's going to be a couple of booths around the perimeter, but the majority of it's just going to be gaming. I think there's like 50 tables set up in there, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. I had a meeting with John today. Actually, I was up there and I yelled at him for you. I said next time you just give me the damn budget and then you'll reimburse me later on. You know, I must have told him about 4 dozen times. I'll pay for the damn ticket. Just give me the money later.
Yeah. Hey, talk about yourselves. I'll be right back.
I just had a crazy ass idea. What do you remember, Mark? Are you a comic book reader?
Oh yeah.
You remember when they would do crossover comics?
Oh yeah.
I wonder what would happen if they did crossover games. What would happen if, for example, your company made a game, and you go to some certain circumstance, and you end up in another company's game, and another company does something in another circumstance and ends up in your game.
That's an interesting way to do it, because a buddy of mine was actually talking about doing something like that, and the whole problem was that obviously touching on other people's IPs and all that is a big issue. But he's like, you just have to have multiple games. You just need this one set of cards. So he's actually thinking about making something just like that, where your character goes from game to game to game. It was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's a couple ways to do it. One would be if you were doing a role-playing game A and you went into board game B, or if you went board game B into role-playing game, for example, or if you went board game to board game.
Well, what we've done... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Our Tales from the Tavern game was actually designed in mind because we have a friend of ours that does not handle tavern situations very well. Like, you have to go in and tell a story or something, and he typically pays a bard. And we had a jerk of a DM that kept insisting that she tell the story. So the Tales from the Tavern game came into being because that's what it is. It's a storytelling game. You're pretty much taking story fragments and telling the story about a goblin. So it was like something that could play in 20 to 30 minutes with a 4-player game pretty fast, and gave the ability for that person not to just roll a dice and get a number, but actually play and see who scored the highest to pretty much have the most influence in the tavern. It was kind of an interesting way that we built that. So we did that, but from going from board game to board game, I can almost see some of that happening with some of the games out there, like Pandemic Legacy to Zombicide.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of interesting. The difficulty is that you'd have to have one person in your game group have both games. One person have game 1, one person have game 2.
That's usually not hard in this house. I usually have all the games. I mean, I think my collection's almost 350 games now.
Wow, I think I'm up to 9.
Well, then go back Tales from the Tavern. You'll be at 10. Lance was laughing at me at BGG last year because I was always selling. I was always selling Evil Genius Death Ray everywhere I went. Oh yeah, well here's the game. We got it for only $25.
That's awesome. I am the anti-salesman. I like to let the market do the word of mouth for me, and I don't try to hard sell anybody.
Maybe if you have a big popular name and a company that everybody knows, that's easy to do. But
No, I don't. The difference is I have my day job, and this is just fun for me. It's just a hobby. It's not a matter of actually putting food on the table. So, but I am interested in the idea of kind of crossover. I mean, the obvious example are things like when you were younger and you would play D&D and maybe have your D&D character cross over in a Traveler universe or something like that. That was always kind of fun. But it was the same GM, same people playing. It would be very fascinating to try to move into a certain spot on the board, let's say for sake of argument, and then end up in another game. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool. What do you think, Barry?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it would be. That's what I thought that that RPG card game was going to be, the Pathfinder card game. That's what I thought that was going to be. You know, so that did interest me back then. But, you know.
How so? How so? How so? How did you think it was going to be like that?
Well, because they were talking about new sets, but what they didn't really tell you is, like, you get these packs where you do one adventure and then you can do another one and another one and bring the character with you, unless the character dies along the way. So I thought that's what that system is going to be. It's just, you know, they sell an expansion basically every 6 months or whatever. But instead, what they did was they killed off the one section, you know, and brought on another section of story instead of continuously growing your character throughout the life of the game. You know.
So that's an interesting point, also. You know, Barry, what do you think about respawns in a game? And let me preface that. I have a friend of mine who plays Warcraft, and he prefers to play his characters where when they die, they're dead. He doesn't respawn them.
You mean World of Warcraft?
Yeah, World of Warcraft.
Ooh, he's one of those epics.
Yeah, and it's not so much that he's an epic gamer. It's more that he likes it as a flavor and a personal challenge. And so I you know, Mark, Barry, I'm wondering, what do you think about the idea of respawns in a game, or a game where when you die, you're dead and you start over?
Really depends on the game. When it's like Pathfinder and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm packing right now. If you're wondering why I'm moving all over the place.
You're breaking up.
I said I was packing right now, so if you're wondering why I'm moving all over. Like in Pathfinder or something like that, I don't mind, you know, recreating a new character as long as I'm back up with compatible to everybody else that's in the party. I have a particular DM that when you're dead, you're starting over from scratch, level 1, and away you go. And that to me is kind of annoying. So, but I don't mind playing games where you're dead. I mean, we do it with Homicide all the time. We, you know, character gets killed off, break out another character. Because we play through the modules, but one thing I did not like about Homicide when they brought the second one out was when they made it that your zombie can turn into a zombie hero. I think it unbalanced it.
I haven't played it.
Pretty much a zombie hero can take more bites. They have a little bit limited abilities, but it really just made it to where now the zombie heroes are tanks. You send them to the front line, and you know they can take so much more damage. It's unreal.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. For me personally, I prefer like D&D levels between, say, 5 and 9. I think that those are where you take more chances, you have more flamboyancy. It's almost like when you get beyond that, you're living to protect stuff as opposed to try to adventure and stuff. I haven't played Zombicide, but a lot of the games I feel like there's a great amount of thought put into how do you catch up to everybody else so that you're not out, as opposed to what's the flavor of the character you're supposed to play or the role you're supposed to play.
I'll agree with that. I will be right back. I have to start a load of laundry immediately.
And then it was just you and me, Barry.
Yes, down the tube.
Put them up. Put them up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd go with killing off a character.
Yeah?
Yeah, with like the longer games, you gotta not only advance the character, but the obstacles of the game to compensate for the character being so strong. So, and you want to sell these games to two different types of people, so it couldn't be just like this a continuous expansion. You have to have different levels for beginners too. So yeah, I think I kill them off. But even games like Time Stories, I wish that had a respawn point. Instead of just doing the same repetitive thing up to the point where you think you screwed up. So, yeah, a lot of it does depend on the game.
Yeah,
What's
it's
the question?
interesting.
What do I know?
We were just talking about how you feel about games where you die and you're dead and you start another character versus you die and you respawn. And I think I'm with Barry. I think my preference is when the character dies, let it be dead, don't respawn. Start a new character. And the difficulty in many games is they try so hard to bring you up to speed with everybody else that you lose the flavor of growth of the character. And it's funny for me, I'm perfectly happy playing a character in like a D&D or a Pathfinder kind of world, but I don't like a board game giving me a character role to play, like Darkest Night or something like that.
Odd. Hey, since you mentioned RPGs, I want to talk about something real quick.
Go for it.
And I could talk for hours about RPGs and
I don't believe that at all.
and what I think. Are you okay? Put that down. Take the sharp objects away from him. No, I feel that, like, I'm an old school RPGer, like, as far as D&D goes. I think games like Pathfinder and 3rd edition D&D have their merits and they have things that are good. But I have this huge problem, and I know this is very, very small and it's a weird microcosm, but I feel like one of the intrinsic wonderments of playing a role-playing game is the fact that everybody has this kind of willing suspension of disbelief that they pretend that their characters might be in trouble in a situation when ultimately it's like, well, this guy, he's got a story he wants to tell, and he wants us to find out what's at the bottom of the dungeon. So the chances of us actually be dying between now and then are pretty small, just like, so if you but you remove that part of your brain and you you put it aside and you don't think about it, and then you actually put yourself at risk. And that's like a recent invention, actually, of like Pathfinder and 4th edition and 3rd edition, is that characters were really resistant to death. Old school D&D, it was like poison traps were save. It would say save poison at +2, so you get like a +2 to your save. Oh, well, what happens to me? Oh, well, you die. Your character is dead. This person that you've had, this character that you've been playing for the last several months, yeah, they're dead now, and nobody knows a 9th level cleric, so you're not getting him back. So here's another character sheet and some 6-sided dice. Go ahead and start rolling. We'll find your character in a room in the dungeon here in just a little bit. And that's how you played, and you didn't care. You just kind of reset, but it made players way more intelligent and way more creative in playing the game, as compared to now, where every character has like 17 different abilities that they use to get out of the situations, instead of the players actually being clever and thinking of ways that made the game amazing. And I have a huge problem with the fact that death just isn't a problem. One of the greatest moments you'll ever have is when you actually scare the players so much that they don't want to risk their characters by going into the dungeon. It's like, I remember like I specifically put in one campaign like a like they come across this door, this stone door in the side of this hill, and inside this door there is tons of undead that will like rip apart a low-level party like nobody's business, and it's just like, and I put it fairly close to like the very first place that they ever plopped down in. And it's there. It was there basically to scare them, because outside of the door is being held open because there's like a dead giant, like, who is emaciated, and they can see like the bottom half of him has been gnawed on and ripped apart, and it's there to scare the party into saying, holy crap, whatever's in that door killed a giant. And the giant was actually running out the door and didn't make it out. It was killed as he was leaving. And that's to teach them that, like, don't go in there. And if they do, they're going to die just because what's in there is too tough. And they can't leave. And I made it so they can't leave that tomb. Like they're blocked from leaving it, magic or whatever. And so for the players actually to say, no, thank you, sir, I'm not going to. But in a Pathfinder campaign, and those things, like, everybody has this idea or this belief that my character can't really die, even if I do die, there's magical spells and all these other things that'll bring me back. They'll just say, well, let's go in there. Let's just go in just a little bit and see what's in there. Poke around just a little while and see if we can't find something interesting. I don't know. And just
you have been around too many weak GMs. I'm telling you right now, we don't play Pathfinder anymore because we have a jerk of a DM that the games would last 4 hours and we'd only literally go 100 feet because of a trap around every corner. Like every single time you walk, there's another freaking trap, another freaking trap, another freaking trap. He actively tried to kill us.
Well, that's just a poor DM. Because that doesn't have a story, it's.
So I'm totally with you, Lance. For me, I'm in a ref for my kids, and I go back to AD&D when the rules were loose, and it was about the storytelling, and it was about the tension that you built, and it was about people actually putting themselves into a role in a situation, as opposed to saying, what's the right way to do this? How have thousands of other characters done this? And how do I optimize this based on something I've read on the internet? It's got to be something intrinsic where they're actually, as you say, willing suspension of disbelief. They're actually as though they're in a play, playing a role. And I think that's a kind of magic that you can bring to these people. For me, going from level 1 to 2 to 3 was much more fun than going to level 3 to 4 to 5, or 5 to 6 to 7.
Well, early levels are so much more real, just like as far as like you feel like you're accomplishing something. It isn't like and just like when you found the sword +1, that was a big deal. That was a huge deal. When you found that, and it
should be a big deal. It should be a big deal. The Monty Hallism, for me, the thing that kills me is rules lawyers. I hate them with a passion.
I'm still loving you, Jim.
And the more you're the only one, my friend. The more rules there are, the more rules lawyers they are. So, do you take the tact where we are talking about heroic fantasy? You want to lift that gate? Lift that gate. You're a warrior. You're strong. You lift the gate. Or do you want to say, no, I have to go back and check your strength. I have to roll the strength check. I have to make sure that you're able to lift it. At what point do you actually require the roll? At what point do you allow the characters to play the Indiana Jones type attitude until such time as you say, well, this could change the vector of the story. Now you have to make a roll because I need to know what story I need to tell.
One of the biggest things you have to remember, I think, as a DM or a GM or whatever, you have to let the players shine. You have to give them. You have to give them moments of wondrous glory. You can't keep them beaten down. I have a campaign, like I said, I've been running for 2 years now. It's old school D&D, and as much as I hate the wizard character, because of the fact that now he's like 11th level. And they're all like 11th, 12th level, so they all have some power behind them. But the wizard character, obviously, he's got a lot of power. I mean, he's got a lot of spells. He can blast things, and but I have to let him shine. I mean, the thing is I know what I have to do. I have to give him a bunch of weak, 4 hit dice ogres, all kind of running next to each other that he can blast with a fireball and feel powerful and chortle as they burn.
And that's just it, I think, is that you've hit the nail on the head, is that a true GM has the privilege of helping the characters understand their own story, not force the characters to live the GM story.
Yeah. There's a lot of difficulty where like you have to. I remember one time I had these two thieves that like were throwaway characters, complete throwaway characters in an old school campaign that I had. But they were just, one guy's name was Rhaegar and the other guy's name was Gregory. And they were buddies and they worked together. They were part of an NPC party that the group ran into. And I can remember some of the names. I don't remember what the name of the cleric was anymore. It was in that NPC party. And the mage's name was Pandion that was in that party. And that I think like the fighter was something very generically like, Barrack or something like that, And they were the bane of their existence for like so long. And one by one, the party tracked each one of those people down and killed them, with the exception of the two thieves. The two thieves just lived. They always had an escape route. They were always just a little bit smarter than the party. But eventually, like I remember I was talking to somebody else, and he's like, even the best villains, sometimes you have to let them die. And just because that is, and so like there was an entire like 3 or 4 session adventure where they tracked those two guys down, finally took away all of their escape routes, finally got everything, and brought them to the horrible justice at the end of their swords that they wanted so much. And there was cheering at the table. I mean, it was just like they were that pleased that they had finally found these two bastards that had just screwed with them for so long. And they were so pleased with themselves. And that was a great moment. It was a really, really good moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I had them resurrected, of course. They come back.
But that's the moment that your players will talk about for years to come.
I gave them their moment. As much as I love those two, Rhaegar was like the evil one of the two. He was like the guy that had the permanent 5 o'clock shadow and didn't say much. And Gregory was the little bit overweight, fairly boisterous, like the face of the group. But both of them were just deplorably evil. Just would anything, just horrible.
So I have to tell you one of my favorite moments.
Wait, Mark, you sound like me, like right about now. My daughter will come wandering out of her room and like, what are you doing? Get back in bed.
Yeah, it's like my son. He came out and here, I can probably show where this is my office, and wait, am I seeing out there? Yeah, out that door there, that's my daughter's room, and then right there is my son's room. So he opened it up and just came walking out. I'm like, what are you doing out? He's like, oh.
I don't know. Get back in bed.
So I have to tell you guys one of my favorite moments of D&D. And this goes back to, I think, everything I need to know from D&D I learned from Star Wars, which is the more you tighten your fists, the more people slip through your fingers, right?
Yes.
So keep a very loose idea of what you want to do. So my friend,
keep a loose grip. So but
yes,
enough that I know you're there when you're talking.
Yeah. So my friend was roughing the campaign, and there was a pit that opened. And the wizard smugly said, I'm throwing a featherfall on myself. Very smugly. So the Hobbit barbarian said, I'm going to stick my hand axes in the wizard. And he floated down while the wizard slowly died on the float down. And to me, that is the epitome of a loose, fun campaign.
Hi, everybody.
What do we got? Oh, sleepy boys, sleepy. Must be warm down there, huh, champ?
You want to say hi? Look, say hi.
Hey, bud.
Just say hi. Just say it out loud. Say hi.
Oh.
Howdy. You do the Vulcan?
Go put him to bed. He looks tired.
He's going back.
He looks
He's
like
got to
3
go
tomorrow
back.
morning.
How warm is it there, buddy? Sleeping in his shorts.
Dude, you don't know. Don't wear anything warm when you're coming down here, man. You know it's like 90 degrees outside, right?
And every body of water has an alligator in it.
Not every body of water.
Name one that doesn't.
The canal right out back.
You can't.
Wolf Lake. Wolf Lake has no alligators.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
This sounds like this is a scintillating conversation.
Props on the pronouncing the word properly. Thank you very much, Lance.
Yeah, that is scintillating, or like, how about when somebody references like when they say it's the Super Bowl, it's the penultimate match. No,
penultimate. No, that means the second. It's not the ultimate.
Yeah, it's the second.
Up the other thing that bugs the hell out of me is when they say, "Let's flush this out." No, it's flesh this out.
Well, you know the one that bugs me? When somebody says, "Oh man, I was decimated." Really? You were reduced by 1/10? That doesn't sound so bad. Just when I hear something was, man, he was just decimating us. Oh well, I mean, at least the 90% of you was still happy. What are you talking about?
It's literature, man.
Yeah,
It
well,
lives.
and just good stuff. But
I was about to ask who's got something playing in the background because I hear all these ads going on. It turns out it's Twitch Game Night playing freaking. They turn on this stream, so I always leave my window open. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
So what you're saying is that it's you.
It's me. It was totally me. I was about to say, let's go. I'm like looking all over, like, where is all this ad sounds coming from? And I thought you were doing it, Lance, because each time you click, the music changed.
So I need to bring Lance into our previous conversation. So Mark and I were talking, and Barry and I were talking about crossover games. Wouldn't it be cool, or what would you think about Game X by some publisher, where you then end up in Game Y by a different publisher?
what?
Yeah, think about it. So picture a game where you're playing a character, and the character in one game ends up in another game by another publisher.
Well, didn't they try to do something weird like that with that Stonehenge game way back in the day, where they had like 8 different designers, and then you use the stuff that was inside the game to like play it 8 different ways or something like that?
I never played it, but it sounds cool.
It according to the sales of the game, it wasn't. So
oh, my bubble is burst again.
yeah, that'd be I just can't see people like working together to make that though. That's one of those weird things where I think it would just be
But
tough.
if 2 publishers did, would the novelty of it change the way that games are thought about?
Maybe a little, but I mean, how do you get everybody on the same page? I guess is my big thing.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, like, and now it sounds like it's getting kind of pushed back. But the whole legacy, because that sounds very legacy-esque, as far as the games go. And Artana was making that Civilization legacy game, and they've probably completely changed the game so much since when I played it. But I played it at BGG, and basically the whole process was like the first time you played it, it was like kind of weirdly co-op, but not really, where everybody was like an important tribe member, and like during the Stone Age, and everybody was like you had
Kingdom Death.
No.
Chronicles?
This was, I forget what it was called, like Chronicles. Yeah, there you go.
Origins or something.
Origins, yeah. And so like the first step is like each person plays like a very important person or whatever in this Stone Age tribe, and you're working cooperatively to keep this tribe afloat and having resources and whatever. And then after you're done, basically each person that was in there, their descendant, whatever, their great grandchild or whatever, the next step of the game, and this is the idea, was they're going to release these games like one a year, and then the next game would be like the Bronze Age, and now each person is in charge of their own tribe or their own city-state or whatever in the Bronze Age, and now it's competitive. And now, like, you were going to be, and then after the Bronze Age, it would be the Iron Age, and after the Iron Age, and so forth. And so they're going to come out with these games like one every year or so. And so you would play the one, and each game would get whatever 6 plays out of it or something. I don't know what it was. And then theoretically, by the time you're done with that one, the next one would be out, and then you could go ahead and add that one on, and then you could play that. And then and so that kind of is like what you're talking about. It isn't a different publisher, but it's a completely different game, and you're bridging the gap between the two.
I think that's a very cool idea.
It is, but I think it's kind of dying on the vine now. I mean,
it probably is. I was thinking of a game like, suppose that I had some kind of game where, let's say, for the sake of argument, it's tower defense, and let's say it's, I don't know, you go to a bar and you have a fight, and you go to a tavern brawl game, right? Like something that Mark's got. And then you come back from that and you go to a different game. I'm just wondering, because I'm going back to the old school, like when we played D&D and when we had one DM say, you know what, we're going to screw things up and say, what if your D&D characters ended up in a Traveler universe? Or what if your Traveler characters ended up in a D&D world?
Well,
how would that be?
Here, I'm going to do you one better. Remember the old D&D adventure, the Adventures on White Plume Mountain, which you start off and you think you're in like a cave or something like that, but in actuality, the players are running around in a crashed spaceship that still has a lot of the robots and everything rolling around in there.
Now, imagine if that was one publisher's game in the spaceship, and then you go out and it's another publisher's game in the wilderness. I don't think, I'm not saying it's a wonderful idea. I'm just saying it would be so cool if you could pull it off.
Yeah, I remember White Plume Mountain was the game that, like, the big question or whatever was always that like, oh, what is it or whatever, or what are we fighting? And then, but everybody knew what the hook was, like you were supposed to, like, it was supposed to be the big reveal that oh, it's aliens, but it was like, but everybody knew what it was. And so people would go into that one with the mentality of, let's defeat everything we possibly can using our spells and normal weapons, and save the ray guns and the grenades and everything, so when we leave, and we can use those on the dragons and stuff that we run into outside of the adventure. But
yeah, do you remember Arduin Adventures?
Repeat that. Say that again.
Arduin,
Arduin, yes,
Arduin.
Arduin. Yes, definitely.
Oh my God! Remember the air sharks in Arduin? I loved Arduin Adventures.
Yeah, I remember
They
had
the
weirdest stuff.
Hargrave, right? Dave Hargrave or something, I think was the guy that did that.
Yes, David Hargrave. I just looked it up just to remind myself what they looked like. Crazy stuff, man. It's kind of like how, like, I got to meet at Gen Con, I got to meet the creator of Tunnels and Trolls, and I got to talk to him for a little bit. I forget what his name is now. A very eccentric gentleman. I'm going to look it up again.
So I'll tell you, my biggest faux pas at Gen Con was I met Phil Folio, and I said, hey, I remember you from when you did Phineas Fingers back in Dragon Magazine. And he looked at me and said, I didn't do Phineas Fingers. I did the other cartoon. I was like, oh, I'm such an idiot.
He did, Phil Folio did the one with the girl. I can't remember it. I can't remember the name of it now.
genius now.
Yeah, Ken St. Andre was the designer of Tunnels and Trolls, and yeah, neat to meet him. And he even signed my book. I was pretty excited. I wasn't planning on buying a
That's awesome.
$50 or $60 Tunnels and Trolls book, but I was like, well, when am I gonna have the chance to have Ken St. Andre sign it? So
That's awesome.
yeah, that was it was an easy decision. Phil Foley, what was the name of that now? I can't. I'm gonna have to look it up because I can't. Dragon Magazine. What's new with Phil and Dixie? That's what it was.
Yep, that's right. What's new?
I couldn't. I remember the chick. Oh, and he also did all of the artwork for all the myth books.
Yep.
By Robert Asprin.
Yep.
And
he did a bunch of Magic cards also.
And the thing about that is that did you see? I was in my local Barnes and Noble the other day, wandering around, and okay, so Robert Asprin did the myth books, and sadly passed away fairly like 8 years ago, 2008. Sadly, and it was one of those things too where it was just kind of like he like totally unexpected, like early 60s. He like they say when they found him, because nobody had heard from him a while, he was just lying on a couch and it looked like he was reading. He had a Terry Pratchett novel open and he was just reading. Yeah, just like, so, worst ways to go out, right? They say he just had a massive heart attack and just that was it. But this is kind of weird, is that so what happened is that he was writing all these myth books and people, and I mean, and the myth books were great. I mean, they were really quick to read. They had a lot of satire in them. I really enjoyed a lot of the things that were written in those. I think one of the myth books has when they make Myth Inc. Link or something, they make Myth Inc. They make a corporation, and he talks about corporations, and it's very, very honest, but it's very satirical too. And he talks about why, like, corporations are. There's this wonderful moment where Skeeve, the guy who runs it, the wizard that runs the show with Oz, the demon. He's making all this money being in charge of this corporation. The corporation's making money, and so he's getting paid because he's the CEO. And he says, he's like, I got too much money. I don't need the money anymore. He's like, just stop paying me. And then the entire chapter of the novel is about, well, we can't stop paying you. And he's like, well, why? And he's like, because if you don't make the money, then it throws off the entire structure of our pay scale. Because it's like, you have to make this money, because then the person below you makes a little bit less, and the person below that person makes a little bit less, and so on and so forth. And if you make zero,
we have no reference point.
Yeah, we don't. It's like, and he's like, well, this is ridiculous. He said, here, just take the gold back. Just say you're paying me the money. And they're like, well, no, it doesn't work like that because And he's kind of going back and forth with this guy, and then finally, like he said, and they said, and he's like, I don't do anything. He said, I sit here all day long and I don't do anything. About maybe 3-4 times a year, you come up to me and you ask me my opinion about something. I tell you, and that's the extent of what I do. And then they went in, and he's like, look at, and he pointed to some of the underlings, like Guido and Nunzio, his bodyguards. Like, look at them. They do stuff all day long. They're always working. Take my money and pay them with my money. And they said, well, it's like, they said, your Guido and Nunzio, they probably make 20 decisions a day that impact Myth Inc. Link. He's like, exactly. So give them more money. And he's like, but if they screw up on all of their decisions, Myth Inc. Link still exists tomorrow. If you screw up on one of your 4 decisions a year, we're done. And that's why you make all the money. And I was just like, huh. And then that one moment, that made corporations and why CEOs make a lot of money. Like, I mean, admittedly, it's ridiculous how much money they make. But the reason why they're paid a lot is that if the CEO of company A, makes a stupid decision, he dooms the entire company. Whereas Joe Blow at the loading dock, decides to drive truck A to site B instead of site A. Well, it's not the end of the world.
So that reminds me of a story a friend of mine told me a couple of days ago. We said there was a factory, and it stopped working. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with it. All of the workers tried. Everyone did their best to solve the problem, and they just could not make this factory run. So they called in a consultant. And the consultant came in. He looked at all the factory, looked at everything there was, looked at all the pipes, listened to all the pipes, found a specific pipe, asked for a ball peen hammer. Hit it with a ball peen hammer, everything ran. Back online. He presented the bill to the CEO. It was $1 million. The CEO said, I'm not paying this. $1 million? All you did was hit a pipe with a ball peen hammer. Guys, let me break it down for you. Itemize the bill. Hitting the pipe with a ball peen hammer, $1. Knowing which pipe to hit and where, $999,999.
Well, yeah, that's true. I don't know. Go ahead.
A little bit of a weird segue, but if you guys are ever interested in strange fruit, have you ever had a dragon fruit before?
I have.
No.
I've actually eaten some before.
I grew this in my own yard. It's actually a cactus fruit. So,
I thought it was a toy.
no, I was just.
But it can be.
It's a little frozen, so I was just heating it up. But
What's it like inside?
oh,
No, don't kill it! Don't kill it! Oh, he
wow,
killed
I'm
it.
eating it. I'm eating it.
You reminded me of the opening of the Halloween episode for the Peanuts when she cuts open the pumpkin and scoops all in. I didn't know you were gonna kill it.
Things are cool.
That's what it's all about, Charlie Brown.
So he just undressed it, and now he's killing it.
You know what? Isn't that the weirdest thing?
It doesn't look appetizing. Looks like cookie dough.
It's delicious. It's got a unique little flavor and texture to it.
Yeah?
But yeah, I moved into the house and this plant was growing and these red things came out and my kid being my kid just went up there, pulled it off, ripped off the thing and started eating it. I was like, what are you doing? It tastes good.
It's Star Trek fruit. So
You
is
know, a
that
lot
native
of
to
fruit on
Florida?
Star Trek.
Yeah?
I don't think it's native to Florida, but a lot of places around here have it.
A witch. No.
But a lot of the Star Trek fruit, interestingly enough, is real fruit. It's this exotic fruit that most Americans don't see.
So I have a story about that. So have you had papaya?
Oh yeah, I have a papaya tree outside.
Are you a fan of papaya?
No, my wife is.
So I could not stand papaya. And I was in Peru, and the guy said, look, put lemon juice on it. Or no, I'm sorry, lime juice. I said, what's that going to do? He says, trust me. So I put lime juice on the papaya. It was awesome. Ate it without lime juice. It sucked. Put lime juice on it. It was awesome. It's incredible.
We actually have what we call an edible backyard. So I have mango trees, peach trees. I have a
Nice.
jackfruit tree. So if you've ever had a jackfruit before, the fruit itself, when it's ripe, tastes like a mixture of banana, pineapple, and mango all in one. And it's a very rubbery fruit. Yeah. The sap, I call it nature's super glue because the sap is sticky as all hell. And they come in these little bulbs. You can roast the seed pods, the seeds themselves, like macadamia nuts. Really a tasty tree. We have another tree out there called a breadfruit tree. And the fruit literally has the taste and consistency of bread. So you actually roast it inside of the oven or microwave it, and you take it out. Some people chop it up to like chips, and they throw it in the fryer, and it does taste just like chips when you fry it up and throw some like salt and vinegar on it.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a virtual farm here. I got goats, chickens, the whole 9 yards.
That's awesome.
Wouldn't that be a real farm instead of virtual?
Well, I'm in the middle of the city. I'm 6 minutes from downtown Fort Lauderdale.
I know, but if it was a virtual farm,
Yeah.
You'd be growing strawberries.
We have those too. Oh, we had them. Goats got out.
Have you ever had durian?
No, but my wife has. She brought it home, and I decided not to have any.
That's like the stinkiest thing on the planet. It's like a corpse flower.
You
Yeah.
apparently haven't been around me after Taco Bell.
Rumor has it. Rumor. I made tacos tonight, and my goddaughter said, "These don't taste at all like Taco Bell." I said, "That's because Taco Bell has no real meat in them. These have meat in them."
Oh, and Lance, to answer your question about food, right by the hall is a Publix. So that's like a supermarket if you're not familiar with down here.
Why would I be familiar with what's down there? Like, what do you have for food around there? What do you have for restaurants down around there?
Well, we
Highlight.
got some of the best places around down here. We got the Taco Bell. Now, I was just looking at it. There's quite a few. I mean, this row has quite a few places down there. Let's see, Billy's Bait and Tackle.
I'm not a big seafood guy. I just don't want to be stuck eating like garbage civic center food every day. You know?
The food trucks there, I'll tell you one thing, are awesome. So, I mean, there's going to be multiple different things. Like, they got the Side Door Brewing Company, which is not far away. Where are the good places down there? The Cottage Grill was okay. You come into South Florida, you don't like seafood. The hell's the matter with you?
I'm not a fan. Sorry, I'm not. Going along with what you need me to be, I guess.
So I take it that Zen of Sushi's out of the question?
No. Cook my food, please. Thank you. Hey, Seth, are you there? Are you just standing around, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm here. You can you hear me all right?
Yeah, where are you? Why is there no camera?
You look
'cause
like the shadow.
I'm not in a spot where you'll see anything. It's like dark and weird.
Oh.
But yeah, so
Tell me more.
so on the downside, we lost our frisbee game, so
Oh,
I got
I'm
up
sorry, man.
a little early. Wah wah, which means no second game tonight and no games tomorrow or next week. But,
So time went on, right? You're just gonna go and get trashed, right?
yeah, kinda. If by getting trash, you mean get on here and talk about games and stuff. Did I miss any game chats, or are we just on the stuff part? Games and stuff.
We're kind of randomly winding down, actually. So we talked a lot about Chimera earlier. So and just about
That's a tasty minstrel game, isn't it?
A very tasty game.
What was the score of Ultimate, or as people might know better, Frisbee football?
We lost pretty bad, like 7-12. Wait, that's not true. 9-12. Yeah, we caught up at the end a little bit, but yeah.
That's not bad.
The first half of the game we were trading points 1-for-1, and that was okay. But then my team decided it was better to just throw to the defense every single time. That was rough and frustrating.
You know how you stop that, right?
You play better. Yeah.
That's my line. Finally, people are catching on to that, though.
Oh, it's my I say that kind of thing too. So
yeah,
I don't want to steal your thing or whatever, but
no, it's usually my thing about when somebody's complaining about something about a game or whatever. Oh yeah, that game it sucks because of this, that, and the other thing. It's like, well, you know how you can stop that, right? Be a better player. Oh, shut up. So, but no, well, that stinks, man. But there are two. I have played softball every summer of my life since I was 20 or 21 years old. Been on a softball team. There are three signature moments of softball for me. When a friend of mine who ran the team, he left town He moved to Minneapolis, and so for 1 year we didn't have a softball team. And then I remember I was just sitting there and I was like, "This is stupid. We should be playing softball this summer." And I was very upset about it. So the next summer came along. I was like, "You know what? I'm just going to go get a sponsor and I'm going to put a softball team together." So I did, and so then I ran a team for 10, 12 years, and it was just a giant pain. But I still did it every single year. Got the team together, chased people down for their money. Just got everything put together, got it done. And the year my daughter was born, and she was born premature, she was in the NICU, and we had a softball tournament that we always went to go play at, and it was like a half hour out of town. And we never did well at that softball tournament ever. And I was just like, I'm just going to skip it. And my wife said, just go. It's like you need to do something that isn't sitting here worrying about your daughter. Just go there. And I mean, I would drive like a bat out of heck to get there, and I would drive back as fast as possible. But we won that tournament. Like literally, like we first day we got in our bracket. There's 3 different brackets, and admittedly we were in the lowest bracket because we weren't very good. But we won the tournament. I can still remember my friend Craig who couldn't run. If he's got two busted knees and he couldn't run to save his life, but somebody hit a single and he ran home from second in the bottom of the 7th to break the tie, and they threw the ball home and the guy overthrew it and he slid in and he won, and we won the game. And so I brought the trophy back with me, and that trophy stayed next to my daughter's bed in the NICU until she went home, and now it sits on her desk in her room. And it was just like, so every day I see that, I think of that day. And the other one was the last year I managed. I said, this is the last year I'm going to manage. We won the league. We had never won the league once. And that was fun. That was nice. I mean, I still play, but I don't manage anymore. So I went out on top. I was like, and I'm done. Like I'm not in charge of the team anymore. I'm just going to play. And so I was really happy that I went on top. But the other really great memory, and this is a little bit of shameful joy, admittedly. But we had this team, and then we were competitive, but we weren't. We had our problems, and then one year we just were horrible. We were just absolutely horrible. And where I worked at the time, U.S. Bank, as you can see here, wearing my U.S. Bank pullover. Where I worked, there were 2 teams that had a lot of players that worked at that bank, and the other team won the league that year, and we were horrible. And so one of our better players, who was a friend of mine, he approached me after the game, after the year, and he's like, "Hey, just so you know, next you just aren't a really competitive team, and I really need to be on a competitive team. So next year I'm gonna play for the other guys." And I said, "Hey, that's fine. Go ahead, go do your thing. It's fine. And it's your money, it's your time. I'm not gonna tell you can't. I appreciate you telling me, whatever." And I was still kind of bothered by it. It's just kind of like, oh, I don't want to play for you guys. You guys suck. So we ended up having like 3 or 4 or 5 people leave, and then a guy came and started working at the bank, and I made friends with him. He was a really good player, and he had like 3 or 4 other friends that were really good players. And so we put the team back together. We had these guys, and we got these ringers, right? And so, and they were good guys. They were fun guys to hang out with and everything like that. And we started playing, and we played well. And the thing was, there was a team that year that was just ridiculously good. I mean, like they lost like a game all season. But both us and this other team from the bank were always second and third. We're just kind of fighting over that second place. So we didn't even win the championship. And as luck would have it, it came down to the very last game of the very last year, and we were playing them. And my friend, who had left our team to go, made like 2 or 3 errors in the outfield that led to like 6 or 7 of our runs. Enough so that like the other team was just screaming at him in the outfield, like about it's like, get your head in the game, and then not being that nice, He hit into 2 double plays, and then when it came down to it, he was on deck, bottom of the 7th. We're up by a run or 2 runs, and the guy in front of him, and you can just tell, I could look in his eyes, and he's just like gripping the bat, and he's just crunching it, and he's just like, and they're coming back. We were up by like 6 runs, and they were scoring and scoring and scoring, and we had 1 out, and we had runners in first and second, and he's just like, just get me up. You know, I'm gonna crush that ball. I'm gonna win the game. It's all gonna be fine. It's all gonna be fine. And the guy in front of him hits a laser on one hop to our guy at third base. One of the guys that came to play. He steps on third, throws over to first, gets the double play to end the game, and we win the game.
Wow.
Big, you know, we're cheering, we're yelling, whatever. We go out, we shake hands, whatever. And so as we're leaving, and we're walking out, heading to the parking lot, to go and grill up our brats and drink our beer and say goodbye to the summer. I happen to be walking with my friend, my buddy Ben, and he's not saying anything. He's just kind of like laser eyes, focused, straightforward, like doesn't see me there. And he kind of catches me as I'm looking over at him, and he looks over at me. He's like, good season. And I said, yeah, you had a good season too. And we kind of kept walking for a little bit longer, and it was kind of a bit of a hike to get back to the parking lot. And he's like, you're being a pretty good sport about this. And I said, Ben, you're my friend. Why am I going to try to make you feel bad about leaving a team? I mean, it's just like, you did what you thought you had to do, and you know, we just ended up having a better team. I mean, I probably should thank you, because I probably wouldn't have gotten all those guys if you hadn't left. and I could actually see the steam coming out of his ears. And I was just like, and I look at that moment. I look at that moment, and I just realize that yes, sometimes the universe does just play out the way it's supposed to. You know, it's just it's the good, what's supposed to happen happens, and that's good though, and that's good. I just and a weird little microcosm of that. I appreciated that about existence at that moment. And then the next season we were horrible, but that season, that one season, we had that one
moment, that one time.
Yeah, we had that moment in the sun, if you will, which is one of my favorite. Go ahead.
That was a brilliant story.
And on
that story, I'm going to say good night.
Yeah, I was going to say we should probably wrap this stuff up and get done, because it is late. Seth, I'm sorry for having you.
Seth ruined the party. That's what it was.
Yeah. Seth, you showed up, and we decided we'd be done. So
all over again. So
you guys,
that's fine. I knew you guys would be wrapping up, or I was, be lucky if you were still going. But it seems to me you used to go until 1 o'clock in the morning my time.
If I didn't have like 3 videos I needed to edit, and before I get on a plane tomorrow at noon. I would be right there, my friend. But it's one of those things where I still have to pack up and everything else too. So,
are you going to Grand Con tomorrow?
No, I'm going to Treasure Coast ComicCon in Florida. So I'm taking Chimera Station with me. I'm gonna film people's reactions and be on some panels, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome. Enjoy it. Have a good time. Is Grand Con this weekend also, though? Isn't Daniel going, or somebody's going? So, is it somebody going to Grand Con this weekend?
Daniel is he's loaning it. He's gonna have a booth. I guess we hired somebody just to come down just for that convention to help out with demos. But yeah, he's, as far as like core TMG people, he's the one.
All right. Well, enjoy the Florida whatever. Are you going to see the Dice Tower dudes?
I don't know. I don't think the Dice Tower is going to go to the Treasure Coast Comic-Con. Mark, no, I don't think they're going to be there. So.
Too busy stubbing your nose at other conventions.
I might be big man on campus when it comes to media people there. So won't that be nice?
Yep. You will be
a bigger head.
Oh, you shush! You can't sit there all day like a lump and then just chime in when you want to make fun of me, Barry.
Yeah, I can.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right. You're waiting to stalk and hit you.
Oh, and Kabuki Kid wants to. It's the expedition to the Barrier Peaks, not Wine Plume Mountain. So thank you, Kabuki Kid.
Oh, that must have been from before I got.
I made a reference to an old RPG module, and she corrected me. So thank you.
Take that.
Yeah.
All right, well, have fun in Florida,
Thanks, bud.
and we'll see you next week, I guess.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, real quick, how's Chimera Station doing on? I haven't checked the take. Are we?
We're at like 47, I think. Last time I checked. Hold on, I'll check again. Of course, I don't have it open in my thing here. If you're listening to this, you should really back Chimera Station.
45.85.
There you go. Thank you. 45.
851.
851. So we're steady climbing. Steady climbing. I think when we release the stretch goals tomorrow, I think we'll I think that'll push us over the edge. So
Hope so. All right. Well, sounds good.
all right, take care, my friend.
Good night, everyone.
See,
You mean there's more than just us on this, Lance?
Oh yeah, people chat, people talk. We
I
have
don't see
our
the chat. I just see the group chat.
we have our core group of like a dozen people that pop in and out, and for whatever reason enjoy enjoy having discussions with us or listening to us prattle and have their own discussions and chats. So there you go.
Whoops.
Do we get any viewers? Is anybody watching?
What now? Yeah, a few. So, to everyone who watched us live, of course, thank you very much for taking the time. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you for watching it after the fact. If you have to find Barry somewhere, where would you find Barry?
at Gateway Gamer, Gmail, YouTube, and Facebook.
And if you wanted to pick up some pretty cool games, where should they go there, Mark?
Vile Genius Games, or right now go to Kickstarter and check out Tales from the Taverns, Legends of Goblins Past.
And if you want to talk to a brilliant game designer, where would you send them, Seth?
I'd say they should talk to Eric Lang on the internet. Or failing that, they could look on Twitter for @Sedgetroll, or on Porky Week under the same name.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for coming in, guys. I appreciate it. And yeah, have a good night, everyone. Wish me luck. I hate flying, so and I'm not looking.
I'll see you tomorrow, Lance.
I'll see you tomorrow, Marcus.
Marcus, ooh, it's on now.